I was tooling around on Twitter the other day, and I overheard a conversation. You know, a lot of people are doing the lives, and it was I can't remember her screen name exactly, something with recon in it. And somebody was giving her a hard time. Like, you weren't, like, okay, you were in the Marines, but you're portraying like you were in some recon. She's like, no, it has nothing to do with that. It's something totally different. But like, she's feeling like she's getting like imposter. You know what I mean? It's getting kind of crazy. And I think it has a lot to do with the stolen valor stuff that's been going around. And so now people are afraid to even speak out. Like, they're afraid to talk.
Nobody wants to get called out, or they don't want anybody to assume that they're speaking on something they don't know about, because everybody can get in that comment box and just rip them apart. So you got a lot of people that's hesitating. And I didn't watch the whole thing of what he was talking about, but every week he gets on there, he puts out something, not always about mental health, but talking about the fact that people are getting stressed out because they sit behind a screen on a fluorescent light so much. And then some of them, they get frazzled by that, or they put so much to get to that job. And then when they get there, the pace is like so fast. And it's like, do I deserve to be here? And then people are attacking them in comments and whatnot and stuff like that. And I remember when teaching at the Bravo committee, the first time it came up, and then the second time I had to brief was actually when I was working ops at BCO, with the studs having those apps, talking about the mental health, the breathing, the Calm app, and all that stuff, because you had to make sure that guys are not, if they're not, then it could be stressed, but not just about work, because if they're getting, not so much as cyberbullied, but a lot of the stuff is stressing them out. So they using all this digital stuff to help calm them down. And I was like, how is that a thing? You're in the Bravo course. What, other than being stressed out in this classroom, what else could be bothering you? This is where you want to be. You worked hard, but a lot of them are going through that stuff. Like imposter syndrome, feeling like, well, I got here, but am I good enough? And I didn't think like that. I was like, I'm here. I am good enough. You know, that's not an issue. And I damn sure ain't worried about nobody on Facebook or somebody saying something about it, because we wasn't on social media.
Yeah, that wasn't a threat. We didn't, I want to say, even like the first thing that came out that I remember was MySpace. And,
oh, damn.
And right. So, so a lot of people, that was the first, I guess, experience with social media. I know it was for me, but we weren't checking it very often. There wasn't a whole lot to it. It really wasn't a thing for us. And I want to say it was frowned upon, right? Like, as social media started becoming a thing, we were kind of told not to do it, to stay away from it, because too many people were putting out, sensitive information, I think, about it, missions, and unfortunately spouses were finding out.
That was, I think, the bigger part. Family members posting, God bless my service member, my soldier, he's going to X, Y, and Z, and, family members, just basically the opposite portion of it. But yeah, we didn't, even before I got the group, that was like, you said MySpace, you went back.
Right. I mean, I'm thinking like 2005.
Yeah. Yeah, because I didn't even have it. I knew what it was, but I didn't have it.
Yeah, it got crazy. And nowadays, you talk about cyberbullying. Remember, I mean, just bullying in general. When we were kids growing up, if it wasn't settled by 3:15 at the bike rack, you had until tomorrow to not even think about it, not worry about your problem or your issue that you were having. And, the next day, okay, rinse and repeat. But nowadays, kids come home because of the social medias and everything. It just never ends. And it's a lot worse than the way it was when we were kids.
That's interesting, though, because we say kids, but the kids that we're talking about now are like anywhere from 21 to like 30. And they're in the military and they grew up like that. Like, where if it was typed, it was real. It was, if somebody didn't post something, or they thumbs down, or the comments, it's like a real thing to them. So people already have enough problems. So how much additional stress is that in the Q course or whatever. If you're that, because these guys are coming in, they have social media.
Right.
You know, I see stuff all the time and I'm like, you can do that? you can post that? You know, I can't tell you how many jumps I've watched on YouTube.
Oh, I know, right? It's like everybody's wearing GoPros now.
Yeah.
I thought there were all these regulations against it, and you know, maybe they've lightened up a little bit on it, and they understand that there's value in recording it, but nevertheless, you see them all over the internet.
Yeah, guys, they get up there, pull out the cell phone. This one guy I saw the other day, he started narrating, and he said, "Okay, let me put this up and get back to doing what I'm supposed to do."
Oh,
I was like, "Okay," like I would have never thought about that.
No.
You know, but.
It's a different. We were talking about it earlier today. It's a different place now. Mm-hmm. Everybody has their phones out and they're recording, and they're waiting for the punchline, right? As to before, if you saw an incident, you're going to intervene. You're not waiting for it to get, you know, to that point, but they're recording it. So they needed to go to fruition, and so it almost. Man, I don't know. It's like that sense of trying to be the hero, you know, that complex is gone now.
Oh yeah. Nobody I think, well, where's the value in it, right? The morality and the value of being a good human being should be all encompassing, right? That alone, you know, should be what gets you going, but if you're doing the helping, then you can't go viral. If you're not the one posting, maybe somebody will come and like, oh, who was that guy?
Right.
But the cameraman, the actual person who posted it, that's the dopamine hit, right? That's what they're gonna get. It's not the satisfaction of driving home like, oh, that felt good to do something nice for somebody. That's not where it comes from. Before I left Colorado, I went to, I don't know if I was going to Target or somewhere, and these two old ladies were dragging a steam cleaner from their car back to the door. And people just walking by them. And when I see two old ladies, I mean, I'm thinking about my aunts or my mom or something like that. So I go and pick it up for them. And they're like, well, thank you. And we go to the customer service. And they... So I stood there in line with them and just chatted with them and just took it until they got ready to turn it in. They were so thankful for that and giving me kudos and saying your mom she raised a good son. I'm like, that's the norm.
That's right. Should be.
I took nothing from that, like except that this shit is screwed up. If they were like blown away, just like, we can't believe you did that, you know, thank you. But I'm like, that is the norm. And I guess that's my dopamine hit, you know, that somebody, the fact that they said my mom raised a good son, I'm like, okay, that's cool. I'm going to call my mom and tell her about that, you know.
That's right.
I don't need a viral video for that, but it's wild that that's like, I wouldn't say a lost art, but nobody looks for that now. Well, I wouldn't say nobody. You see more of the bad stuff than you see the good.
Sure. Well, you know, it kind of brings up a good point that I've seen some traffic on, right? What is a good man? What is a good masculine man?
The same podcast, I can't remember the name of it. They was talking about basically what is a good man, what is a strong man. Nobody can clearly define it because there's all these things now, right? There are men that are doing things, young men that are doing things to become an alpha male or alpha man when they've done these studies that say that women, they're not really so much worried about an alpha, but more or less they want to be safe.
Right.
And that doesn't always equate to big and strong and bearded out. Maybe that's financially safe. Maybe that's emotionally safe. But what dudes see is, I call it the flannel in the beard syndrome. That's been going on for years, right?
For sure.
You know, it's tattoos. Tattoos was just what I've been doing tattoos since I was 18. Right. It had nothing to do with the military. It's prior. And I would have had more, but I just didn't have the money for it. But as I got money and I started seeing things that were meaningful to me, I would get them. But how many young men have went out and got sleeves because it's part of the outfit, right?
That's right.
But and to them, that's what it means to be maybe a strong man. May not necessarily mean a good man. I can't remember the book. I've read and forgotten so many things, but pieces always stick out when they talk about a good man goes to work, take care of his family, goes to church every Sunday. He's part of the community. He does this and that. He's nice. He's gentle. And for the most part, that's where some guys, that's their space, and that's the space they want to live in. But how many men that do that who are considered good men that are miserable? They're a great man, but they're miserable inside because deep down they just want to wreck shit. And not hurt people, but that's not that 9 to 5, that fluorescent light, that sitting in traffic is just killing them inside. But everybody said, oh, that's a good dude. And that dude is like, shit. So I guess, the long way around to come back to it, when you say a good man is, I don't think about what makes a good man now is, as I get older, what makes a good human being. Because you could take every trait that I think that makes a good man and shit is toxic to somebody.
Sure.
I like to hunt. Somebody thinks that's animal murder. You eat meat and I don't knock anybody who has that. Hey, if you don't want to eat it, that's fine. I eat enough for everybody. But that trait, every trait that I think makes a good man, then there's going to be somebody that's like, no. So I think the focus for me and my kids and when I talk to people, what makes a good human being? As far as being compassionate, empathetic, common sense, not being a dirtbag, those traits. Because to say what a good man or a good woman is now, shit, it might even get you in trouble.
Yeah, that's true.
You're drawing lines.
Sure, absolutely.
So.
Yeah, and that's another thing that's blurred the lines as we've gotten so, I guess you can call it politically correct, trying to be more accepting of just humans in general, what they say they got going on, and it's blurred a lot of lines because of it, right? So I want to say that it almost seemed like simpler times were when we were growing up. Like you can almost look and be able to, you can almost tell by looking at somebody if they were a good dude or not. You know what I'm saying? When we were growing up, it seemed like it was just a little bit more transparency going on. Like you kind of knew what somebody stood for based off of the vehicle they drove, the job they had. You had a feeling of what that person was, right?
Right.
And now it seems like there's so much more going on behind the scenes with the social medias, being able to go down rabbit holes while you're scrolling, and next thing you know, you're way far right, you're way far left. And none of this stuff existed that I remember when we were growing up. There was extremes to each thing, but it didn't seem like it was, this bad.
I think it's because a lot of the stuff that people dial in on, we just didn't care back then. It wasn't a topic. I don't think I cared about politics till I went to Germany the first time. Never even cared. Didn't care who the president was. It's just that I didn't pay attention to it. I knew I was aware, but how did it affect my world?
Sure.
I'm a kid, But, it's and then as you get into your military career, you start seeing how some things are affected by politics and which president is going to do this and which one wants to implement that, and that directly affects your career path and your family. And I think that's when we started. But how many young adults now, they're like deep into politics.
You're right. Like
they are in it, and their opinions are strong, and they feel deeply about it. And sometimes I ask myself, if it wasn't in their face all the time, would they care as much? Not saying that they shouldn't care, but would they feel this strongly and would they be so one-sided about it? There's like no gray area for them. That it's either this or it's that. Right. And if you don't agree with me, then we can't have a conversation at all. Right.
It's almost like you're non-existent.
Yeah. So that's why I always think how much of that, like, there's a comedian named he goes by Little Duval, and every now and then he'll put something up. He said, "What are we fake mad about today?"
Right. No, not much of a truer statement. And we were talking about it before with our prior jobs, right? Special forces, unconventional warfare, like to overthrow a country. The easiest way to do it is to get them in fighting and get them disagreeing on so many different things to where it's chaos. And then you can come in and control that chaos. It's seemingly the same thing that we're watching happen here. There's a lot of fake fighting going on where there's issues that are arising that most people, and I would say the vast majority of people, could care less about. But those few people that are making a stink about it, it's putting stuff in your face that you normally wouldn't even have known existed.
Right.
And so, I take us back to growing up. If it wasn't happening in your town or your county, you just didn't even know it was going on, right? And the internet has connected all of that, given the, free stream of information out there for people to be able to rabbit hole whatever they want. But the truth of the matter is, we don't know what to believe. Right. You don't know. You don't know who's right and who's wrong, but everybody's got an opinion on it now.
And everybody feel like they're right and don't want to have a conversation. Like where I grew up about 3.5 hours just northeast of here. About 27 miles southeast of Fort Benning. It's a small county, Marion County. Well, it's a pretty decent sized county, Marion County, Georgia, small town. Buena Vista. We call it Buena Vista because we don't speak Spanish down there. Some people do now. So it's a smaller town, one red light, and a lot of stuff. Like my mom was an educator, 27 years, taught school. Dad worked civil service at Fort Benning, solid childhood. My house right here, grandparents' house right here, aunt's house right here, family all up and down this road, right? So that was my whole world. If something was going on outside of there, I'm not going to say we didn't care because when Desert Storm kicked off, we were aware,
Sure.
When Black Hawk Down happened, I'm watching Channel 1 in high school, so I see that. But as far as how it affected my lifestyle, it was right there on that screen. I wasn't going to go home and somebody's going to walk down the street, protesting or anti-war protest or something like that. Shit, it might even come up at dinner in the conversation. I mean, it may never come up at dinner in conversation or anything like that. So now, everything. And it's, if it feel like it's overwhelming to me, how does it feel to that 15-year-old, 16-year-old, young adult trying to figure out what you want to do in life? But if you watch so much go down, I think about like my kids span from 27 to 25 years old. And it's not lost upon me how much they've seen in that time frame. Now, not that they've been through a lot, but how much they have seen, because they from the start of YouTube and everything that comes beyond that, social media, they have seen it all. Haven't been in a lot of bad situations, but they've seen by the time they turned 20, they were more privy to the world than I was.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, and how does that go into their decision making? And I think some of it, and I know we all over the place, but I think that's why sometimes they're a little slow to start. It was clear for me.
Sure.
Play football. Can't play football, get a job. Can't get a job, go to the Army. Don't go to the Army, go jump on a tractor. I mean, it was pretty, clear and cut. And nothing outside of, my little area changed that. Nothing changed that. but they can literally be thinking, they can like think about something they want to do their whole life, their whole young life, and they turn 18, something comes out on TV and completely changes it up just like that.
Sure.
So now, because, you know, I think about it, I didn't come down too hard on my kids, but I'm like, why is this so hard for you to figure out? You have everything at the tip of your fingers. Because
too much information?
Too much at the tip of your fingers.
Well, I was going to ask, so when you were growing up, I mean, you've got all family right there. Everybody knows anything you do, you know, it's found out about right away. So you grew up where basically, you know, you're raised by the village.
Right.
And what was your life like growing up?
It was fantastic. And I knew it. Like, I took it for granted, but I knew that we had a good time. My cousins lived close. The cousins that didn't live close, they came to visit. We called it the city cousins. They were with us every summer because I grew up, it was a dirt road for a long time. Then they finally paved it, if you could call it pavement. It was like just gravel and tar. Kind of, you know, it's that rough cut. That was when I was around 15 years old. But if I could put it in terms to it was like, I guess if you had Rome in the country, because there wasn't a place that the sun hit that I couldn't go play. Literally, I mean, if it wasn't our property, I was related to the person who did have the property. And if I did happen to get on some property that wasn't ours, it wasn't a big deal because it looked like Pine Land.
Okay.
Where I played at looked like Camp McCall.
Okay, so thick jungles,
pine trees, gullies, water. If you went down here, you hit water, creeks. It looked so. When we went out to Camp McCall for the first time, and guys are like nervous because it's getting dark, I'm like, bro, this is how I grew up. We played hide and go seek and stuff like that. So it wasn't a big push for me, but growing up there, it was great. Like I said, we were our own little community, so to speak. We didn't do, I wouldn't call it farming. Everybody down there where I grew up at, to even things out, everybody worked, but you have small stock of hogs. For a while, my dad had he had a lot of hogs. We probably had at least 75 to 100 head at one time. Maybe wow. I'm inflating the numbers a little bit, but I remember being a lot. We castrated them. We made the supplement for them. Like, we grinded up the corn and meal. We did hard labor down there. And then and everybody grew some produce. Like, everybody's going to do some corn, do sweet corn. You're going to do watermelons, black-eyed peas, butter beans, stuff like that. And you picked peas when you were a kid. It wasn't anything crazy to like, hey, I'm going to take you over here. We're going to go to Miss such-and-such house. Her grandboys have all grown up, so you're going to go over here and help pick this half an acre of black-eyed peas. And you get nothing for it because you're going to help her.
Right.
Yeah, you get nothing. Get on back of the truck, go do it. So community was always like, we just helped each other. It was great. It was not until I started chasing girls that I started not like living in the country because everything was so far away. If I wanted to go to Columbus, I had a certain time I had to be home. So it wasn't anything bad. It's just me being a knucklehead and mad because everything was 30 minutes to an hour away.
Right.
But no, it was great. Dad, he served in the Army. He was field artillery. He did one tour. He got out. He came back and he did a couple jobs around the Columbus area. Then he got hired over at Fort Benning. Like I was telling you before, if you went through basic training at Fort Benning, when did he retire? He retired over 20 years ago, but there was a good chance you was in one of those cattle trucks he was pulling. So he drove the water tankers, the cattle truck, cattle cars. He was out of there before they started the buses. So, but he did 20 plus years civil service at Fort Benning.
Okay, yeah, I definitely rode the cattle trucks. It was around 98, so he was still out there.
He was there. Yeah. Yep. And once he retired, he started his own barbecue business, A&R Barbecue. So he's 73 years old. He still does it.
A&R?
A&R. It's stuff his best friend, Arthur and Ralph Barbecue. So it's A&R Barbecue. And he still does it right there in Buena Vista, Georgia. He still gets up. He's early, smoking meat, that discipline. He gets up. Matter of fact, this morning when I left, I said goodbye to him about like 5:36 this morning. Gave me a hug, got his coffee, got in his truck, and went on to work to do something that he does not have to do.
Wow.
So yeah, he's an outstanding dude. My mom, she taught school for 27 years, same area, Marion County Elementary. She passed away last year. She wrecked our world. She passed away last year, August 24th. She had pulmonary embolism.
Oh man.
Yeah, so she.
Sorry for your loss.
Thanks, man. But it was like boom, like that. But my dad is like me. He kind of off kilter. She was the steady stern, the rudder, got us all and stuff. And we were lost for a little while, and but we're getting it back together. My sister, she's 3 years younger than me. She had moved away for a while, but now she's back at the house with my dad. She got 2 boys, so we're all still tight. I'm lucky when it comes to family. My aunts, I can honestly say, I don't know if it's a little country thing just where I live at, but all my cousins, all my aunties, all my immediate family, I got no problems with anybody.
That's great.
Yeah, I'm lucky, man. And I didn't know how valuable that was until I went to the military. You know, you talk to people like, hey, it's block leave, I'm going home. No, I'm going home.
Yeah.
Yeah, they really don't get along with their family. I'm like, that makes no sense to me. Like, I had never seen that before. You know, somebody so upset with where they're from that they don't go back, but they had different circumstances.
Sure.
You know, so, yeah, I had a great childhood. I got no complaints, man.
So what kind of kid were you growing up? I mean, I know it sounds like you were very respectful. Were you any kind of hellion or you getting in any kind of trouble? Or what?
So my nickname is Spanky.
Spanky?
Spanky.
Okay.
My grandma started calling me that. I guess this kid off the Little Rascals.
Oh, yeah.
Because I was just bad as shit. When kids still get spanked, I got spankings all the time. Because when I look at it now, I think they just didn't know what to do with me as far as the energy.
Okay.
Probably had a touch of something here or there. You know, nobody's checking for that back then. You know,
right.
Be still, sit down. You know, I'm in class doing multiplication tables, and I'm looking out the window, staring at a bird doing something, and the next thing I know is turn your papers in. Yeah, I was that kid.
Yeah.
Out of 50 questions, I've done 3. So they're like, that's the very easily distracted, good at sports, but just I stayed in a lot of shit, man. Okay. When a bag, I say a very, very active kid.
Sure.
You know, yeah.
So not a bad kid, just a little bit of mischief. And what sports? What were your sports of choice?
Football, basketball. Did a little track, and believe it or not, I did like the high jump and the long jump.
Okay.
And people are like, are you kidding me? You like 5'8".
I was gonna say you're a little shorter on the.
When I was dunking basketballs when I was like 14 years old.
Really?
Regulation rims. But again, where I'm from, that's not a big leap. Everybody can dunk a basketball. Damn. You grew up. You got freak athletes when you're sprinting barefoot up and down dirt roads,
right? Playing
basketball on clay courts. If you ever drive around, I'm sure you'll see it around here somewhere. If you're driving and you see somebody that has a dirt court, which I hadn't seen one for a while, you'll see it slumping down. In the middle, you'll see a dip in the ground. They pound the basketball in that one area up under the hoop that it drops down. So if it's a regulation goal, if it's like 10 feet, right, it's really 11. And it's dug down. I grew up with guys who would dunk basketballs out of that dip. They're like freak athletes, man. But where I came from, there's nothing else to do.
Right.
There's no rec center. They have one now, but there was no rec center. You played basketball from sun up to sundown, or you played football. But yeah, I wasn't the best, but I held my own. Right. Enough to where I thought that I could do it in college.
Did you go to college and play?
I went to college. I did not play because I had no work ethic. Because it was so easy in high school,
right,
that when it was time to go there, I'm like, I'll just walk on. I had no idea how good people who actually practice were, I just showed up. We be at practice. I practice, whatever. And we play in our little region. You go to some of these schools with guys who eat, sleep, shit football.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was
different kind of league. Huh?
Oh man, it was a heartbreaking. I played a little semi-pro in El Paso, a little bit in Germany, but as far as college, too far behind. If I could have just done that, maybe, but I didn't stay in college. My first run in college I was there 6 months, maybe.
Okay.
No interest in school. As soon as I figured out I couldn't play football, yeah.
Okay. So what 6 months of college, what happened? What changed?
I conned my parents into thinking if I went to another school that I would actually do it. So I was in Columbus, Georgia going to school. And back then it's Columbus State, now it's Columbus College. I went to that. So you got Georgia Southern University. That's all the way across the state. It's not far from Fort Stewart, not that far from Savannah. And I had an older cousin who went to school down there. So I had visited a couple of times and I'm like, yeah, this is college. I didn't even enroll. I was down there for about 5 or 6 months just partying, working for temp services and just acting a fool, just out of control. Just all I did was get up, I work whatever temp service, whatever they sent me to. I get off work, I work out, find somewhere to go smoke, and then wait for everybody else to get out of class and go party, man. And finally it came to a head. I don't know what happened. Temp services, I didn't show up for a job or something. I don't know. I think I just ran out of money or something. And I think if I remember it right, the guys I were with, like 2 were in school, and there was one other guy kind of just meandering, doing the same thing I was doing. So we went home. We went home and started working real work. So the region that I'm from in South Georgia, there's a lot of, and I want to say it's South Georgia because it's not like down on like the Georgia-Florida border, but you get down around Richland, Georgia, all the way down that 280 corridor. It's all manual labor, trailer plants, welding. You can be a truck driver. I mean, you can make money, but you're going to work. Sure. And I started working at a trailer plant in Ellerville, Georgia. They worked the living shit out of me. I had never, I worked a lot with my dad. We did hard work, but we work hard for 2 hours, we get it done, and whatever. We may work all day, cutting wood or whatever. That was the first time I ever went somewhere where it's like, hey, do this, and do it all day long.
Yeah, there's no end to it.
Toting sheetrock all day long. I'm like, I can do other things. The guy said, we didn't hire you for other things. We hired you to carry sheetrock all day long.
Bro, that's brutal.
Yeah, I was strong, but it was like they eventually let me start doing other stuff. And I went out one night and we partied. Well, now they told us, and I was making decent money, but this is the work. When you come home, I would sit down and my mom would give me a plate of food and I just fall asleep. Wake up, the food sitting over here, get up, take a shower, go back to work. It was a lot of work, but we made decent money. And they told us one day, they were like, hey, we got to work Saturday. We got to make up for something or whatever. And I went out that night, went out to the club. It was a Friday, got my little check. And some of the guys I was with, they were going home. They were like, hey, man, we got to go to work in the morning. I'm like, man, I'm not going. That's bullshit. We worked hard all week, got my money, and I'm not going. And I didn't go. I showed up Monday. They met me at the door. And your services are no longer needed here. And they fired me on the spot. And it was probably the best thing that ever happened to me.
Okay.
Because that's what sent me straight to the recruiting office.
Okay. Did you have a pretty good idea at what you wanted to do when you joined the military?
I went up to you remember the Peachtree Mall?
Yeah.
So I went to the Peachtree Mall, the recruiting station over there.
I remember it. Yeah.
The one I probably would have got what I wanted if I'd have went down to Americus, Georgia, because we had a recruiter that would come to the high school every month or so. He was always trying to recruit football players and basketball players. I'm like, dude, I'm going pro. No. So I wouldn't give him the satisfaction. So I went to Columbus, Georgia, and I found me a recruiter. And I told him, I said, I want to jump out of airplanes and blow up shit.
Perfect.
He said, dude, that's too easy. Because I know what Fort Benning is. I know what comes out of Fort Benning. Got the perfect MOS for you. It's called 14 Echo. It's Patriot missile. And I'm like, what? He's like, I'm like, you can go airborne from that? Or you can go airborne out of any job. You know, I'm like, okay.
So your first MOS, I don't even think I remember hearing about a 14 series.
14, so you had Patriot missile system.
Okay.
14 series, 14 Echo, push the button, missile come out of the Patriot launch. It's a lot more to that job. It's not an easy job. It's a lot, but that's what it was to me. I'm like, are you kidding me? And then this is what he sold me on. Went to the strip club. He was like, hey, air defense is not only combat arms, they got girls.
Sold.
Word. Say less. I was like, okay, I can wrap my head around that. And but I wanted infantry. Didn't know how to articulate it, you know. And I think deep down I was scared to say infantry.
Okay.
I think I was scared because I knew growing up in that area, I knew what infantry was. Didn't really know. All I knew was, you know, we 80s babies. Rambo, Commando, Delta Force with Chuck Norris, Fall Guy, all the tough guy stuff. I watched the A-Team, but I knew kind of what I wanted to do. But the mentality a little bit where I grew up at, it's like you go to the Army, but you don't go do shit that's gonna get you killed. And not to put race so much on it, but that's the thing. If you talk to, I would say people my generation who grew up the time I did and they went to the military, they'll tell you if they went to the military, their parents, if most of them, if they're black, they told them, they like, you go take a job, but you do something that, you know, and I'm pretty sure a lot of parents, just not black parents, but you're going to take a job that's going to give you benefits on the outside when you get out, you know, education, whatnot.
Ralph Blue, welcome to Team Track Podcast, man. It's so nice to finally get you out here.
Yeah, I know. We talked about it for a while, so it's good to be here. Yeah.
Heck yeah, man. I appreciate it. So
I went in air defense, and the first time I got on the airplane is when I went to Fort Sill, Oklahoma.
Okay, so your first time ever flying was to join the military.
Yep. And I was fine. Dude next to me from Augusta, Georgia was crying. I'm like, bro, we on the airplane. He's just boo-hooing and stuff. I'm like, okay, that's weird. I'm like, why is he crying? Because I'm about 20 years old at this point. Went out to Fort Sill, and I enjoyed basic training. Because I had from lifting weights, I had gained probably like 20 pounds from high school. It wasn't fat, but just heavy. Once I dropped some weight, started running, basic training was fun.
Yeah.
Like it was hard, but it didn't suck to me. A lot of guys were complaining. And so when they bring you in, they tell you where you're going for advanced training for AIT, all of my friends in basic were staying there because they were field artillery.
Okay.
They were 13 series. It was like 7 of us that were 14 series. They're like, y'all going to Fort Bliss. I'm like, where the hell is that? I have no idea what that said. They're like, and the drill song was like, Blue, you're 14 series? I'm like, yeah, I guess. If you thought you was he thought I was he thought I first was a 14 Sierra. So that was with your Stingers.
Okay.
Stingers and Mad Pass. So I'm like, okay, I don't think I'm doing that. I said, I think it's Patriot missile. And he was like, yeah, that's a 14 Echo. They thought I was a 13 with everybody else, with all the
field artillery guys.
Yeah, and because those 14 Echo guys, they looked like nerds. These guys were tall, lanky, really smart guys, but it was only like 6 or 7 of us, and they packed us up and sent us to Fort Bliss, and that's when all hell broke loose. Day one, I did not want to be there.
Okay, so what happened there?
Got there, getting smoked in your blues. Not your blues, but your Class Bs.
Right.
You know, all this sand. It's just like, what the hell? Never been to the desert. You know, just never seen nothing like that before in my life. It was...
And Fort Bliss, that's basically El Paso, Texas,
El Paso,
right?
Texas. Yeah, and the it's a lot better now. When they did the BRAC movements, they built it up. But back in, that was 97, AIT was up on this place they called the Hill. So you got Dyer Street. It's your equivalent to Yakin Road.
Okay.
All right. So that's where you lived at. No gate, no fences, no nothing. So you could literally just take off and run down the street and sneak out of there if you wanted to. But it was so different. And you went out there, and AIT was 6 months long for that job. 6 months long.
To push a button. Yeah, I guess there's a little more to it than pushing a button.
You learn to be a maintainer. Well, Patriot, when it all boils down to it, imagine if you have a computer that shoots a mortar, shoots a really big mortar system. But say you take this computer and you move it from here 4 blocks down. Well, you gotta reprogram the computer every time.
Basically recalibrate it, right?
Every time. And just imagine instead of a mortar, the missiles are the size of a tractor trailer. And the radar, everything is like it's a big old kit that requires a lot of people to do it. So it's very cumbersome. And then the job itself, the engagement operators, it's a hard job. You know, they're sitting behind a CRT, sitting behind that screen, they're tracking targets and whatnot, target criterias. And I'm just sitting in there like, no. Like, how do I get out of here? How do I passed it, but the whole time I was there. And back then, when you went to AIT, you would have NCOs in your class who were reclassing.
Yeah.
They're reclassing, right? We had 3 or 4 of them that were infantry. You know, I see badges. I don't see none of the air defense instructors with badges and stuff. Some of them airborne, air assault, you know, combat, EIB, everything. You know, you're just like, why are you here? Well, they've gotten hurt, or some of them, they've gotten ran out wherever they're from, and they've been kind of told to reclass and whatnot.
Okay.
And I gravitated toward those guys because they were like, you don't want to go do this job. It's back-breaking. But I'm like, what did you do? Well, we go to the field, we train, and we do this, we do maneuvers. I'm like, that sounds fun to me.
Right.
So now my brain is like, how do I reclass just to infantry? Like, how do I get out of here? And they're telling me, like, you can't do that. You got to wait at least until your first deal is up, your first contract is up. And they were like, by the time you get through this first enlistment, you're not going to want to do infantry. That's what the instructors for air defense were telling me. They're like, you're going to like where you're at. So I went to my unit, and there were girls, lots and lots of girls that lived in the building with us. So yeah, infantry was like, yeah, I think this is going to be kind of cool.
Now you're okay with it.
Yeah, I'm okay with it. And that goes on for a while. And I had a good friend who I told you, we talked about a little bit earlier. We were out in McGregor Range. That's like for Fort Bliss, McGregor Range that's their Camp McCall.
Okay.
You know, that's the majority. That's where everybody go and train, big training area. And we're out there and we see there's an airborne operation going on. Nobody out there at Fort Bliss jumps, right? So it's an outside unit. We don't know who it is. When we get, then later on we figure out who it is. And this we were talking about earlier when they had bars at the range compounds. You had this bar, this little place called the Tumbleweed. And we couldn't drink. We're privates. We ended up playing pinball and whatnot. And these guys in there, they wearing DCUs. You know, they got the brown T-shirts, no tops on, you know, shaggy hair, thick mustaches and whatnot, and they're having a good time. And I could see my first sergeant just kind of pacing in the corner, just like he's getting agitated. We don't really know what's going on, and we see him go over there and he's knife-handing this guy. He's knife-handing him. And then all of a sudden, the dude, he just downs his beer, he turns around, he starts yelling at the first sergeant, like, my face, you don't tell me what to do. And the rest of his buddies are grabbing him. He puts his top on, and he's a staff sergeant. I'm like, he's talking to a first sergeant. I'm like, just don't give a shit. And they got him out of there and whatnot. And the first sergeant he was yelling something about standards and whatnot. And what it came down to was the first sergeant was upset. Not that they were drinking, because they could drink in there. But dude didn't have a top on, you know, pants on, blouse, and just whatever they just got finished doing. They came in there to get a beer and they were going to leave. So I thought that was really cool. because I still had a little bit of that hellion in me. I'm like,
right.
This dude talked to the first song like a dog. I'm like, okay.
I don't know who those guys are, but I want to go work with them.
Yeah, and I'm like, first song I couldn't do nothing. So I kind of like, we knew, like I didn't know the difference. Like Special Forces and Green Berets are two different things in my head at this point. I don't know, I only know what I know from the movies and stuff. And then one of my friends, Marshall, he started talking about it. He wanted to go to selection. I didn't even know what selection was. And he ordered, back when we did the corresponding courses to get points for promotion, he had land navigation. So we went through that, and we had talked to one of the NCOs in our battery who was prior infantry. And once we explained to him what we were trying to do, he was all about it. He took us out to the basketball court. He gridded it off, just showing us different stuff, talking about, orientating your map and things of this nature. Because we're PFCs. We haven't been to any leadership school. What is it called now? It was PLDC, but WLC. We hadn't been to anything like that. So the only map I've seen is the drill sergeants talking about it in AIT, and then not AIT, but in basic training. And then in my AIT, all the maps are on the screen. So it was nothing like that. So the Marshall ended up going to selection, despite, and I don't know if you experienced this before you left to go to selection, but people were trying to talk him out of it, discouraging him. No support from anybody except for the handful of NCOs who was like, hey, go and do it. At least try, give it your best shot. If it doesn't work for you, you can always come back. I ended up not going because I wanted to marry who would be my wife later on. We were dating heavy. I'm like, and one guy told me, if you go and you go do that job, you'll never be at home. Your wife gonna leave you, and it spooked me. So I didn't do it. I didn't go to selection. And Marshall went, passed selection, came back, never went back to SUT. He didn't go back. Got married.
Okay.
Yep, and he got out. We still talk every now and then, but he says, that's one of the things he regretted. He didn't at least go back, and go through the Q course. But I would not even after that, it's just, I didn't even think about Special Forces again for a long time. So went through, then I didn't take my first enlistment seriously. Went to Germany, got in some trouble we talked about earlier, fleeing from the polar's eye and stuff like that.
It's frowned upon.
Yeah, frowned upon. That slowed me up a little bit. I didn't lose any rank, but it slowed me up for about a year on getting promoted. Finally became an NCO. Started kind of getting serious about what I was doing. Came back to the States and was thinking about getting out. But at this point now I have children. I'm like, what can I do to, when I get out of the Army, that's going to at least give me what I got now? And I didn't realize that BAH, that housing, all that stuff we were getting, that's the only reason I'm keeping my head above water right now.
Right.
And realized that I couldn't get out. So stayed there, got reinvigorated about just doing the job. And I didn't, even though I fell behind my peers, I still made it to Sergeant First Class in about 8 years, which wasn't too bad.
No, that's fast.
Yeah, I was a platoon sergeant as a staff sergeant. By the time I pinned E7, I already was done with platoon sergeant time.
Wow.
So yeah, I went through it. Once I got my head screwed on straight, it wasn't that bad. But I had a soldier at Bliss, and he was older than me. I don't even know if he's retired yet. We'll call his name, but I don't want to get him in no shit. But anyway, he was like, I'm going to selection. And again, everybody was like, oh, that's stupid. Why are you doing that? He was almost 30 at the time. And I probably was 26, 27. He's like, Blue, go with me. Because we love doing PT. We didn't really mind. And we didn't like the traditional PT. Push-ups, sit-ups, running. No, we want to ruck. We want to carry water jugs. That was always kind of, as odd as it sounds, I like doing workouts like that.
What are you hearing about selection? So besides the negative things of if you get selected and you become a Green Beret, that you're going to be deployed all the time and away from your family, What are you hearing about the actual selection? Is there anything
Nothing.
about selection that's worrying you?
Nothing. Nobody knows anything.
Okay.
You got to remember, if you had, I knew a couple NCOs that had went, and it was like, yeah, I went to selection. I didn't make it, I didn't get selected. And that's about all you got from them.
You didn't get a horror story about how they fought a cadre member, or
one guy went twice.
Okay.
And he said I got too much mouth. He said I'm not there. He said I'm not their cup of tea.
And I heard that a lot. I had a bunch of team leaders and squad leaders go when we got back from Kosovo, and they all had a war story about why they didn't make it. It was really not their faults, or they either beat up a cadre member or their boots fell apart. They all had these stories.
Not that they quit,
but it was scary. So it scared the shit out of the younger guys that are thinking about going. It's like, I PT with these guys every day, and I can hold my own against them. But if they can't make it through selection, then am I going to have what it takes, right? And you start questioning your abilities. Now, I guess you didn't really run into that too much.
No, it was always like, one guy told me he kept throwing up. He kept getting dehydrated. He said he got med drop. He went back and the same thing happened. See, he said I couldn't do it. I just kept. He was prior infantry before he came to air defense. Okay. It was like I just kept getting sick, and after the second time they're like, no. And the other guy, like I said, he said that he was too vocal. He said he was too for a super smart guy, but if somebody was screwing up, he let them have it. And
so wouldn't that be peers then?
I think he got peered both times, and nobody ever told me that that it was like anything the cadre did. They kind of owned up to it, and so when Rob went, so now I'm thinking about my kids and my little boy. He's right there, and now I don't want to leave him because now he's at the age where wherever I go, he wants to go.
Sure.
So I'm like, I can't do this right now. So fast forward, I go to Qatar for a year. And during that year over there, that was kind of, I want to say, if something started reigniting the fire for it. When I got there, Command Sergeant Major Howard, he had just, so Qatar back then, this is 2005, 2006 time frame. If you ever been there, you remember Qatar was it's like that little oasis. Mm-hmm. It was the recreation spot. They had bowling alleys. There was a Chili's. And
you could have 2 or 3 beers a night. Yeah, it was. I remember they had a big old swimming pool. I was only there for a couple of days, but I went there for a knee surgery, believe it or not. But as I was there, it looked like it was a party in the desert, man.
I went there for a broadening assignment for a year. Yeah, I didn't even know what it was. I came down because I was trying to figure out, the broadening assignments. What can I do? And they're like, have you been anywhere other than Germany? I'm like, because that's back when you could actually contact HR. They wouldn't have a connection fit, and they're like, well, where you want to go? I said, I don't want to go to Korea because I've heard nightmares about Korea in their defense, getting locked down all the time. They're like, well, you can go to Qatar. That'll get you out. That'll get you a broadened assignment. That's a hardship tour. It's only a year. So I'm like, well, okay, let's go. And when I get there, I'm like, holy shit. So you remember the Chili's in the pool area? Yeah. Yeah, that's where my room was at. My room was right there on the edge of that. So that little triangle compound, I was the air and sea NCO. So twice a week, I go down to the port when all the strikers were coming in for repairs and ones that gotten blown up. I went down there and I helped the transportation units and the civilians coordinate the pilot boats, the container ships, and all this stuff come in. It was a pretty cool job. I mean, it wasn't anything to do with air defense. Learned a lot of stuff, a lot of cool NCOs. The Sergeant Major had just left from his command time at Ranger School. So that's my Sergeant Major. My first sergeant had just left from being the NCOIC of the Memorial Guard in DC. Okay. So he wasn't the tomb NCO, but he was over everything. So the anytime they did the ceremonies where they did the wreath ceremonies, he was out there presenting. He was in charge of all of that. So he was there because he's getting ready to make Sergeant Major now. So he's having a good time, and he has started in back. So he talked to me about a lot of stuff. The next guy had just got finished teaching Florida phase at Ranger School. So all these guys are standing next. I've never been lined up with guys like this. And I don't say this to take anything away from the NCOs that I learned from in air defense, because there were some great NCOs. But these guys were everything that I had thought that I initially wanted to be. When I started trying to look that way, these guys Ranger Tab, the airborne, air assault, dive qualified, all this stuff. And I'm just like, so this is what I'm PTing with over there. This is what I'm working out with.
And so you're an E7 at this point.
I'm an E6 promotable. I came down on the list while I was over there. And so now when it's time for me to leave, they ask me, because it's a hardship tool, where do you want to go?
Sure. Kind of get your choice, your duty station of choice, right?
Yep. So Air Defense had one brigade at Fort Bragg, 108th Brigade. They fell under the 108th, right? So they fell on the 18th Airborne Corps.
Okay, Airborne Corps, yeah.
All right, so they were there. So went there, and I show up at Bragg. I just want to go to Bragg. I want to go to somewhere different. Then because I had kind of cleaned up my reputation, and at Fort Bliss is like at the time, you pretty much that's everybody there. So if you was a knucklehead, and you went back, you're probably gonna run into somebody who knew you like that. Sure. And remember, you're only as good as your last fuck up.
Right. Yeah, this gives you a chance to kind of reinvent yourself.
All right. So I get to Bragg, and I wasn't even finished in processing, and I seen this red scooter just hauling ass down Ardennes. I said, there's only one person on the planet I know who's that big and rides a damn scooter. It was Rob. Well, I ain't gonna say this. I'm gonna say his last name. The guy who said he was going to selection at Fort Bliss. Yeah. He's in the Delta course now. Okay. So he was hauling ass down to the Delta, to the center. I see this. I bust a U-turn in the middle of Ardennes. I catch up with him. I'm flashing my lights, and at first he doesn't even stop. He just beelines in his parking lot. He whips it and comes back at me like he's gonna do something, because I have a different car at the time. Right. And he hops off and he's like, Blue. And I'm like, what's up? I'm like, what are you doing here? He said, I'm in the Delta course. I went to selection. I'm like, no shit. He said, you got to do it, man. So I'm like, what is it about? Nah, just go. It'll do you a disservice if I tell you anything about it. So I went straight down to the center. Yep. And at the time, I had started on a flight packet, a flight warrant packet.
Which is basically the same physical, right? Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And so I had a lot of the stuff already done. So I was looking, and when I got there, I told them like that I'm good on platoon sergeant time. Give it to somebody else. Somebody else. I'm E6 promotable. Give it to somebody. And I'm gonna say I was trying to sham, but I'm like, look, dude, let me go do something else. And they didn't. They threw me straight into a battery, and anyway had me working. So now I'm trying to put together this packet, and I had the warrant packet, and I had the SFAS packet. And I'm going back and forth, and it's like, I can fly helicopters as a civilian, but I only got one shot, and I'm 30 years old at this point. I only got one shot to do this. So I put in the selection packet and did all my stuff, got the rest of my stuff turned in, and it was crazy. Sergeant Major Stone Rock, this asshole, once he figured out what I was doing, he tried to make me go and re-enlist. This is like, it wasn't everybody in air defense. I had great friends over there, great NCOs. But this dude was like, you need to go re-enlist, your window open. I'm like,
you had a year to make that decision, though, right? That was back when we had your window open. It was open for a year or 2 years.
Yeah, two, I think back then.
Yeah, back in, because that was like 08, 09. Yeah. I think it was open for 2 years.
Yeah. And he was like, you need to go re-enlist. So I'm going to selection. And I hadn't had any problems in this place until I said I was going to selection. And that packet started going through the process. My first sergeant commander was on board with it, and he well, in case you get hurt or something, you need to already be in the books. I'm like, this don't make any sense. No. So I didn't do it. I went to selection, passed selection, came back, and my first sergeant said, hey, can you OJT? Go find out if they'll let you OJT. Because this is in November time frame. And I think my airborne slot was, I don't know, it was, because I pinned 2 days before I went to selection. And back then, if you were E7, you had to be in the pipeline within them 9 months of being pinned E7.
I remember that.
So they hurried up and got me the airborne. I went to selection, came back after about 2 weeks. They told me to just drive down to Benny. I remember it was December the 6th that time. I'm like, just drive. They're like, I didn't have orders. They said, just go down there. Stay with your folks. We'll get you. And I got down there, told them where I came from, and they got me in. So I went to airborne school, and I came back, and that dude was livid. He was livid.
So as a 30-year-old E7, you're going to airborne school. That to me is funny because I remember, that was my first stop after AIT.
Yeah.
And I was that little knucklehead private that was going out, probably smelling like alcohol the next morning and doing dumb stuff. And you went there as an E7, so you're in charge of everything too.
Had a ball.
I bet you did.
And I was not in charge.
Well, there you go.
Well, it was so for the Marines, it's their E6s. How does it work? They're not a gunny to what they're to E7.
So I think Master Guns is E8, Gunny is E7, I think.
But I don't know how they rate it. But it was a recon guys there, and they were going through steady line, going to airborne school, and that dude was in charge, and he was pissed because I think he was the equivalent to, I guess he held a position as like an E7 or something, but they made him stay there with everybody else. I stayed in like the BAQs or something. Right. I had like a room. And when they said fall out, man, I was gone. I'm going to hang out with my cousins every night with family and stuff. And airborne school was a party.
That would have been a good time.
And then we had the flaming piss pot. So that always garners a little attention. It was about maybe 7 guys who already had the swig patches on and stuff. So, so we're hanging out, having a good time. And I get back, and this dude, he wanted to fillet my ass, man. So what he did was he put me on brigade duty until the pipeline.
Your report date?
Yep.
So you sat there. So basically, from the time you got back from airborne school, so now you're an E7. You're selected, right? And so you're just waiting on orders to go to school, and this dick decides, all right, you're going to do 24 hours on, 24 hours off, 24 hours on, 24 off, basically.
So if you remember, on Ardennes with 18 Airborne Corps, wasn't the main headquarters, but the one away the headquarters building was at. I cut all that grass. They would put me on duty with no runner, and then they put me on duty one Sunday. They called me in. They're like, "Hey, this guy's wife is in labor or something like that. You got to come in." And I already made my mind up. So all I'm gonna do is go in and do PT the whole time. I'll take some kettlebells and dumbbells in there. I'm like, whatever. And so the sergeant major, he does a walkthrough. So he's pissed because I'm sweaty. What are you doing? I'm like, back at doing air squats. Where's your runner? I'm like, no runner showed up. I've called down to that company who was supposed to give me one. Nobody. It's like, okay, all right, well, that grass need to be cut tomorrow. Roger that, sergeant major. So I can't leave the phone. All right, I'm there by myself. When the next crew come in to relieve me, I went and cut the grass. So I'm out there with my top off, cutting the grass by myself with a push lawnmower. And one of the S3 major looked out there. He's like, what in the hell? He called me over. He's like, why are you out here cutting the grass? Got to cut the grass before I go because Sergeant Major wanted the grass cut. Where's your runner? So I never had a runner. And I don't know what he did, but he was like, go home. Leave the lawnmower sitting right there. He said, don't even put it away. And come to find out, he had went to selection years ago. And he had a soft spot. He found out what I was doing. Right. He was like, leave him alone. Leave me. He told me to go report to the gym every day. Don't worry about it. And I asked my first son, he said, hey, whatever they worked out. He's like, don't ask too many questions. Your duty is to go to that. I went to the Iron Mike, the little Iron Mike.
Oh, man.
Yeah, I just went to the gym every day, man. It worked out. So until it was time for me to start going through the course. But yeah, they made it. Made it a little difficult for me.
Yeah, you asked, and we. I mean, I think most units they don't want to lose their best guys, right? So I can somewhat understand them being against you going to selection because you're basically saying, hey, do me a favor. Will you sign this packet for you guys to pay for me to try to go somewhere else? I'm going to go try out for another team because I want to leave you guys, right? So I could see, people getting a little bit upset about that. I was going to ask you, did you ever find out why that sergeant major had such a hard-on for, dudes that got selected? Because I've heard, of course, the horror stories of, well, this dude went to selection, didn't get selected, and so now he hates all SF guys. Now he's got rank, and he's going to make it miserable for anybody that tries to leave.
I think it was more or less because I wouldn't re-enlist. It was hard to keep guys because they were pissed. They're like, how is this window even still open? Because I never did one of them long enlistments. Right. I would do my first contract was 2.5 years. The next one was 3. I never took the big bonuses. Guys were my enlistment didn't take me over 10 years. So they actually had me, it was funny. Just remind me. So the way I got around that when I came back from airborne school, because he was like, you need to go and re-enlist. He said, you done went to selection, you done snuck off the airborne school, you're going to go and re-enlist and you're going to go today. I already called a retention NCO, this and that. And I'm like, I ain't doing that shit. Because I'm in E7. I know I can get away with some stuff. Right. I'm not going. So I went over to the big building. And I was like, hey, Sergeant First Class such and such. And as an E7, I'm like, this is the time. I've never tried nothing like this before in my career. I'm about to try to pull some shit. I think I've earned the chance to at least try. So I go over to the big building. And I say, hey, they told me between now and the time that school starts, if I have any questions, this is where I come to. And they're like, okay, what you need? I said, this is the situation. And I told them. And they just sitting there listening. Okay, come back at 2:00. I'm like, all right. So I go back and I went back to the unit, kind of eased around, just kind of went to go talk to my first sergeant, told him what was going on. He's like, yeah, dude, he wants you to re-enlist bad. I go back over to the building at 2:00. They said, go upstairs. This little lieutenant colonel, he's going to sign off on this paperwork. Basically, I signed an extension because you don't have to re-enlist or do anything through your unit. You can go to any retention NCO on post. You don't have to go through them. You didn't so if you want to re-enlist, you didn't have to re-enlist at your battalion. It's not like it used to be where you had to get your commander had to sign off. Right. No. If you were eligible, in good standing, no flags, you could have been over you could have been in 10th group and then just say you could have went over to 4th ID and re-enlisted if you wanted to. Okay. The paperwork portion. You could have used their retention NCO. Because it doesn't matter what, as long as it's a commissioned officer that does the swearing in, right? You're good. The paperwork portion of it. They just getting all this set up and all. You don't have to go through them. So I went over there and the NCO was like, sign this right here. Took it upstairs to Lieutenant Colonel. He said, yeah, you the dude they're trying to screw, huh? He looked at it. He said, now take this over to your commander. And I took it over there and Captain Coon was like, okay, all right. And then when he found out, they were pissed. That's when he put me on brigade duty. Oh man. That's when he put me on that brigade. Now I think about that brigade duty. But because he wanted me to, and they signed the extension that would carry me through the pipeline. Right. So now if I got hurt, I still had the option. I wasn't locked in because he wanted me to, because I guess guys had went and they failed. And he's like, well, you're going to come back here anyway. He was resting his hat on that I wouldn't make it through the course, so I would quit or something. But yeah, it was, it made it a little difficult for me. But if you're cool, we'll pick up. We won't spend a lot of time on the Q course and selection and all that stuff, but you want to talk about just what kind of preparation did you do before you went to the Q course? I know it kind of hit you fast and you said you were already a PT stud, but was there any extra preparation you did before you went? I tried. The only thing I did, I went and climbed a rope one time because everybody like, you need to have a rope technique. I said, what is that? Well, you just can't climb the rope. So there was a rope behind the company. I went and climbed it. I'm like, I'm good. Just went up the shit, clamping my knees to it, not knowing how to use my feet, and a lot of running. I knew I needed like endurance. I just did a lot of running. Did some rucking. I've always been able to walk a long ways. I never like I don't get blisters. Never gotten a blister from walking. So I wasn't really worried about it. Like I was more worried about the unknowns. The like PT, like not to be cocky or arrogant. I'm not worried about running. Not worried about push-ups. I'm not worried about obstacle courses or nothing. I'm worrying about stuff that I've never seen before. And I know PT and I know how to suffer. So that's I would say when it came to preparation, I really didn't do too much because I wasn't sure. I think the two things that helped me was in between all this other stuff that was going on. When the seed was first planted in my head, I had to go to ANOC.
Right.
And I went and I read Chosen. I think that was the name of the book. I can't remember the name of the guy who wrote that book. It's about selection, how to get chosen.
Okay.
And I read Soul Patrol. And it's about this all-black LRPS team in Vietnam.
Nice.
And the team leader, he ends up with, if you read the book, and I think it's by, his name is Emmanuel, I can't remember his last name, but the book is called Soul Patrol. He went there, I think, he was just infantry, but he ended up going to, as soon as he got there, he went to MACV. He went to school. He didn't even ask for it. He just kind of got sent that way. And after that, all he was doing was recons. And he, because he had a knack of talking with people, they would put all the brothers with him. And it's a real cool picture. He was like I think 2 tours, he didn't lose anybody. They got hit a bunch of times, but nobody ever got killed. And I read that book, and that kind of made me be like, you know what? Regardless of what people are saying, black people do this shit.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, because there's not a whole lot until you get into the community. You don't see a whole lot of black Green Berets walking around. So to get physically prepared, minimum work, I think it was more mentally like, not can I do this, but should I do it? Is this somewhere I want to be? Even though I know I like what I see from the community, from the little bit I know, but as far as getting ready for it, those 2 books, and it was a third book too. Or it might have been the same one. I think it was Chosen, how to get selected in something. I can't remember. It was just a couple books though.
Okay, so how was your swimming going in? Did you? I know it seemed like for me, a lot of dudes feared the swim test. There was a lot of dudes that just didn't grow up in water swimming. So
I was the latter.
Okay.
Plenty of water where I grew up at, but you do not get in it. Water moccasins and shit like that, and big ass basketball size snapping turtles. You don't play around in the water down there.
Okay.
It's I didn't grow up around like bayous, anything like that, but the water, you can't really see. I didn't grow up around swimming pools and stuff like that. The couple water sources we had, it was either creeks that are knee high for fishing, but you didn't get in anything that was over your head. We don't swim down there.
Okay.
You know, just not from being scared of water, just wasn't around. My cousins who lived in Columbus, they went to the Y, they all swim.
Okay.
You know, so that was I didn't even think about it until it was time to do it, and I was like, oh shit.
How'd that go for you?
Yeah, it did. I got down and halfway back, and everything cramped up.
Okay.
I was like, they were like, are you good?
All that muscle, huh?
And the dude said, why are you kicking so hard? And then I got out the water. He said, do you know how to swim? I'm like, no, Sarge. He like, all right, get back in there. Do not drown. He like, do not drown. I muscled my way back, and they just like, okay, good, get out the pool. Now, when I went to SUT, I had to go back and retest. And what they did like I guess like a swim training for like 2 weeks.
Right.
And the dude was like, do you even know how to float? I'm like, nah, bro, I don't. He's like, are you scared of the water? I'm like, no. And this was a guy from third group, Samoan cat named Song Ua. And he was like, nah, you should be all right. You're athletic. You'll be able to swim. So they tell you to break down, you get down to your range of panties. Told me to take a deep breath, jump into a ball, hit the water. He said, you're going to go down, you're going to come back up.
Just hold your breath.
Hold your breath. So guys are jumping in the pool. coming back up. One dude, kind of heavier, his head came all the way up to the top. I'm like, that's pretty cool. I'm like, all right. I took a deep breath, jumped in. I went all the way down, right about there. I'm like, what the? I opened my eyes. I'm like, are you kidding me? And he said, yep, that's what I thought. He said, that's why you having such a hard time. And he was like, you got a lot of dense muscle.
Yep, you're neutrally buoyant.
Yeah, you cannot dump water. You cannot dump air out of your lungs. You got to keep air inside or you're going to sink like a rock every time. So about a week of learning how to breaststroke and keep air in here, I was fine. I was doing laps. I was good. But that first one, and it's funny. And it's me, like 6 black dudes, 1 white dude.
Right.
And the white dude, I know he was pissed because he kept saying, I passed that shit. I shouldn't be there. I just told him he was mad because he was like, he was the only white dude in there. He's like, I passed. I know I passed. But he was a weak swimmer, so they made him redo the training. But he was embarrassed. And we like, it'll be all right, man. don't worry about it.
Bro, I've heard some pretty good stories about that swim test and about dudes showing up just like that. They're either they don't know that it's coming or they're not really expecting it to be that big a deal. And they'll somewhat drown on that first one. They'll let them finish selection.
Yeah.
And if they get selected, then they'll do exactly that during SUTs. Give them a little bit of remedial swim training or teach them how to swim so they can pass that test. And my bro Armando, he left the Q course, went straight to a dive team in that same situation. Could you imagine, right? So now you're going to go be a combat diver? Like you couldn't swim, 2 weeks ago. Now you're going to a dive team. Like,
yeah, once I figured it out, it wasn't bad. It was like, because he's like, are you scared of the water? I'm like, no, because we was practicing one day, and he took his watch off and chunked it in the pool. He like, first person to get the watch out can go. Man, I dove in that shit head first, blew out every piece of air I had, straight to the bottom, got it, and just push, go back up to the top, and it's fine. He's like, no, you're not scared of the water. I'm like, no, I don't know how to swim. I'm like, my kids swim. Because they took swimming lessons. I don't know how to swim. My youngest was, he learned, he was like the most natural and stuff. But yeah, I had to do that. That was the only part of selection that was, the first time I did the Nick, I only had to redo one obstacle. That was that damn ladder, that super tall. Because I'm so short, when I got to the top, I had to jump. I couldn't reach it. So I hugged that pole in the middle, and I went across and I came down. He's like,
can't touch that.
Do you want to negotiate this obstacle again? I'm like, shit. All right. So I went up to the top, jumped up and grabbed it and shimmied over it and stuff. But selection, physically, I guess you could say, yeah, it's hard. Yeah, but to me, all that shit is subjective, right? Hard compared to what? It was hard that day, but it wouldn't be the hardest thing I did because SUT was harder,
Right.
But
so with the obstacle course, you mentioned you didn't have a rope technique, and I don't remember the exact count of ropes on the Nasty Nick, but it's high. I want to say it's either 9 or double digits.
That's a lot of them, yeah.
So you basically Donkey Kong those things.
The only one that gave me trouble was the white one. Because I was just and locking my knees, and every time I let go to grab the next one, I started sliding down.
Okay.
And the dude was like, lock your feet. I'm like, what? I go back up, and as soon as I let go of this hand, I started sliding down. So what I did was, and they had told us, do not wrap your arms, do not wrap your knees. I grabbed my knees, pulled my elbow in and tucked it, and then grabbed the next rope and just, like you said, Donkey Konged over to the next one and stuff. But other than that, it was like I said, I didn't really have, because nobody where I was working at was getting ready for selection. So I didn't know. And my buddy, he would tell me, he rucked with me a couple times and wouldn't tell me anything.
Okay. Did you know anything about Piers going in? How'd you do in Piers?
I did fine. Did fine in Piers. I got, he asked me, Cadre talked to me about something one time. And I think because I yelled at somebody. Somebody gave me a bad peer because I hurt his feelings or something.
So you kind of got to take those with a grain of salt, right? You got to give 2 positives and 2 negatives across the board. And if the worst thing that came across is like, all right, yeah, this dude yelled at me one time, so I had to give him a pink card, which ultimately the cadre is going to know is just, it's just garbage.
And it was at the very end. It was like right there, like when it was all said and done, they asked me about that. Like, what was that about? And the dude he was just complaining.
Yeah.
Just whining all, just like, and I think I was tired and I forgot which one we were doing. I don't know if it was down pilot or what, but I lit him up. And I wasn't in a leadership position. Right. You know, I should have just shut my mouth and whatnot. But
well, at that point though, like keeping in mind when you're going through selection, rank's not a thing,
right?
And your peers. So if you're one of my peers and old dude's in charge and you're not pulling your weight, it should be on me to say something, right? So I think you were in the right if you're getting into somebody's ass, even if you're not in charge.
Yeah, it wasn't too bad. SUT though, it was rough, man. We had a couple things going on, not to get too far in the weeds about it. They released some cadre after that one. They were not playing. They were getting guys out of there. They were getting dudes. I mean, dudes were getting hurt left and right. I mean, we got RDCM'd all the way into the ORP a few times.
Wow.
I mean, it was just like...
They was crushing your nuts, huh?
It was some dynamics there that I think... we had a captain that got pulled over. He was a JTAC. Or a TAC P. He was a TAC P.
Okay.
So whatever he did on that deployment, he impressed, everybody. So they like, why don't you come over and be a Green Beret? And he was just so cocky, because we went to language first.
Right.
He was just all laid back and this and that. He already spoke French because his grandma was like from south of France and this and that. He's just...
So this is just going to be easy street for him, huh?
He put that tick on his back. He was a big-time marathon runner. And the cadre kept telling him, you need to gain some weight before we... he is... Hey, you see his body, and he run marathons. And they put that tick on his back, game over. He didn't make it halfway through SUT. And so then nobody questioned that, but then we had another captain, like, blew his knee out. Then we had another guy break his foot on the tree root, because they were just literally just, every time as soon as that helicopter dropped us out.
Yeah,
just
incoming.
No matter how well we was doing, we got punished, and we didn't know what was going on. It was bad. And when we got finished, we had to they asked us what happened? Who did this? Who said what? I won't say the guys' names, but I think they moved those guys. But SUT, I learned a lot because I was behind. Because remember, I came from air defense. So I had to learn everything.
Right.
7-8 was me and one of my best friends, me and John Whiteman, out behind the barracks in the sand with the bucket of Green Army men.
And that's how you learned?
Getting it on. He's like, you're smart, man. You can do this.
Yeah, because Whiteman, he already had a Ranger tab, if I remember right. Yeah,
he was RI.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, they knew it as soon as he got there, because one of the cadre, as soon as they saw him, they're like, hey, you, come here. He was an RI for some of the cadre that were our SUT instructors and stuff.
Okay.
Yeah, so yeah, he's a good friend, good dude, man. But he was the one that got me up to speed, and then once we started running it, to me everything's like football. It's a playbook.
Dive option, right?
Just know it, ask questions. And that's the thing. I was a guy, I'll do some push-ups to get a good answer. You call me stupid. I'll do some push-ups. I'll do some push-ups for you to tell me exactly what I need to know.
Sure.
I don't care. I'm not too prideful to say, you don't know this? No, I don't. I don't, sorry. Okay. All right. And then guys kind of, they realize, because you have guys who've been doing it since they were PFCs and guys that they didn't. But man, I was a quick study. So like I said, none of it, like I said, it's hard, physically demanding, but I realized later I enjoy that.
Was there anything during the Q course that deterred you at all, or you were all in? You
SEER
just
school.
SEER. What happened in SEER?
I had to recycle SEER on a technicality.
You don't hear about people recycling SEER.
I got all the way down to the FTX. and we doing snares and all that stuff, right? So he told us go out, check the snares, and I come back. There's this NCO standing by my rucksack with a Patriot cookies wrapper. Said this was on the ground by your ruck, and your ruck is tightened all the way down. I'm like, okay. I'm like, he said, you can't. I said, that's not mine. I mean, because I was one of those classes that finished SUT on a Friday, started SEER on Monday.
Yeah.
So they made us do a shakeout and leave our gear at Camp McCall. So I did a shakeout. All that stuff was, we did laundry, shakeout, all that stuff. I said, that's not mine. He said, well, you can't prove that it's not. I'm like, what? He's like, continue on what you're doing. This is not over with. So I go back, finish checking all my snares and whatnot. We bed down for the night, and we're taking our written exam. Mm-hmm. They called me out of the classroom and had a counseling and a red card. And the guy who pulled it, he didn't do it. He made somebody else do it. He wasn't even SEER cadre. He's just out there walking around observing or something. So, can't even remember his name. Dude was like 6'6", Coke bottle glasses. But they pulled me from the course, sent me to go see the sergeant major. And he's reading the stuff. He has my packet there. And he's like, this is your only red card. He said, pretty good record so far. He's like, tell me what happened. I'm like, I honestly don't know. I told him. And then he just sat there and he was like, imagine if you're in another country and you're there under whatever circumstances, and you're there as a civilian contractor, and you're not associated with you're not supposed to be associated with the military whatsoever. Like, yes. And what if they find a MRE wrapper on the floor of your truck? That's how detrimental this is. And I'm listening to him because I understand where he's going with it. But I said, Sergeant Major, I didn't have that. Got to support my cadre. Got to back me. He said, you're a Sergeant First Class. You can understand that. So when my cadre came to pick me up to take me back to Bragg, he asked what happened. And I told him. And this is just being him in his truck.
Yeah.
Sergeant First Class, Sergeant First Class. He like, that's bullshit. But, because I told him, I said, I'm done. I said, I ain't come here for this, man. I said, I was doing just fine where I was at.
Yeah, you want to question my integrity?
Yeah, I ain't coming here for that. And I got back, and then the NCRC, he talked to me. He said, look, next class starts in 3 weeks. Go home. We'll see you Monday. Came back Monday. They had me do something in the office. They told me every day, just basically I showed. They told me to go home. Just do PT, stay in shape. They didn't bother me. And I started the next class. And I went back through it. And I mean, of course, I cruised through it the next time. But I had to do everything over again.
Damn.
Yeah, that was rough. But I will say this. It was one thing it made me realize, like when you will the resiliency lies in that. It's easy to quit. And I've probably been well within my right, but what does that fix? It doesn't, ultimately, it wouldn't have proved anything. I'm still just a number, just a cog in the wheel. So he quit replacing. It only hurts me.
Yeah.
That's what I learned.
I mean, there's always, a line of people behind you waiting to take your job. So you're right about that. And going back in my career, I remember I failed jump master there at Bragg. And dude, I was so distraught, right? Leaving that parking lot. And it was like I vowed to never, ever return to that shit, right? I was not going to put myself through that again.
Yeah.
And when you're in that moment, like the sky's falling, and your heart hurts and just everything, mm-hmm. They brought your integrity into question, and man, that sucks. So what was it? I mean, was it the talk from the cadre that helped you out there, or what was it?
I felt that if I quit, I could never tell my kids not to quit something. Straight up, that was it.
Okay.
A couple of times that flowed. I was sitting in a fighting position one time, feeling sorry for myself. We had to stand down because it's lightning, so go get in a wet fight position. And I'm sitting there, and you know how the water's pulling up on you.
Oh yeah.
And You do one of those, and that water run down your neck all the way to the crack of your ass.
That's when you know you're wet. That's when you know you're wet, when it goes down your butt crack.
And I'm like, what am I doing out here? Because, you know, it's droning on. You've already passed your eval. You know, you're waiting on others. You're like, what are we doing? You're just like, how bad do I want this? And it's like, if you quit, you can never tell your children not to quit something. Because we don't quit. If we start something, we don't like it, you're going to at least finish it. You know, but you don't quit. So that was it was nothing to casually say. I was pissed, man. But I know, even if I told him it was something else, which would be lying to him.
Yeah.
I could never tell them to not give up on something or quit on something, because I sat there and let my emotions get the best of me and make me quit something that I was working toward.
Dude, well, that's a great lesson in that moment, to find that thing within yourself that. I mean, I remember I used to picture, you know, hard run or whatever. I'd picture my wife or my kids at the finish line, right? Like, I don't want them to see me quitting, right? Like, I need to be up front where I'm supposed to be. And, you know, everyone needs to have that thing, that internal drive, like whatever it is. And for you to go to your kids and say, you know, how can I ever tell them they can't quit something if I. So I think that's great advice, man.
Yeah, because I had screwed up so much stuff up to that point. Like, now you're a grown man. What's your excuse? I was a kid before, but what's your excuse now? You know, so yeah. But the rest of the course pipeline wasn't bad at all. Like, I enjoyed it. A lot of guys who were like prior infantry and this and that already, they were just kind of droning on.
Sure.
Because they'd seen all this stuff before. You know, Robin Sage was fun. I mean, the infield sucked, but those movements were terrible. But the actual job, that's the first time, you know, you kind of put it together.
Bro, I was struggling during that time to put it together. I was a communicator, and on the infill, for some reason, we decided that I was going to infill in civilian clothes, like me and another dude. So I'm wearing civilian shoes on that infill. Bro, just bad ideas, right?
Yeah.
And you know when you make a bad choice and you have to see it all the way through, it just makes it that much worse. So.
Oh yeah, it was.
But yeah, the Sage was a good time. It definitely was. I had a different setup when I went through. We did SEER at the very end. That was the last thing we did. So by then, I mean, you. I'm not gonna say we didn't have anybody try to quit, but like, they wouldn't let dudes quit by that point. They had We had been through everything, right? So after Sage, we got our berets. Then we went to language. Once we passed language, now all we got to do is SEER, and we're long tabbed, we're qualified, right? So they had a really hard time, I think, pulling dudes for SEER issues. But once they moved it to right after SUTs, I think you guys probably had a few dudes drop.
Oh, we had guys quitting every phase. Guys quitting in language. Yeah, because we went to.
I'm not gonna lie, language sucked, man. I mean, sitting in a classroom for 8 hours a day, listening or just speaking a language that you're not used to, that was too much, man.
Yeah, we had this guy. What did he say? He was one of the E7s, and he was like, "I didn't come here for this, bro." This is what was going on. Like I say, we had some tough cadre around there. So, what time when you did language? What time did class start?
So we would do formation every morning, because we didn't do it on the weekends. It was Monday to Friday, and we would start classroom formation was probably around 8 or 9, but we had PT before that.
So because it was before SUT, we had PT, and then we had 7-8 training, and then language started at 1 and went to 9 at night. Dude,
that's brutal.
It was so bad that sometimes I stay around like around dinner time, the instructor be like, "Okay, all right, go to sleep." He's like, "Yeah, you guys are being there like
your wheels are just spinning at that point.
Man,
you can't retain anything."
We've done PT, whatever that was, and now we've done ambushes, and assaults, and all type of shit over in area. We just running around doing all. I mean, it's good stuff, but you broke at 11 o'clock. You had your lunch. Take a bird bath, wipe off at the truck, put on a fresh T-shirt and your uniform, and go into language.
Yeah.
So you're in class, like, you're falling asleep, and the dude was like, Mr. Zuhail from Morocco, he's like, y'all are not going to retain anything. So he would let us, we would go to class from 1 in the afternoon to 9 at night. And, you know, the cadres, they trickling in and out.
Yeah.
But, you know, around dinner time, they vanish and, you know, they like go to sleep. We'd all just lay down on the floor in the back of the classroom and just rack out for like an hour. So we would wake up at like around maybe 7. In the last 2 hours, we'd actually be able to function enough.
Yeah. That's tough, man. That's one of the things that, for me, it was the hardest part of the Q course for me, right? Learning a new language at that age. And man, it just, I didn't do well with foreign language growing up, right? I tried Spanish. Yeah. Basically, my teacher told me within the first 2 weeks that I should just go ahead and drop it, take ROTC in lieu. So yeah, man, that was the scary part. But yeah, don't want to digress too much. So you make it through the Q course. Was 10th group your group of choice on your wish list?
Well, I didn't even care, but I knew they told me because of French. They said,
that's right.
You go in the 3rd group. So we're all there like, but do not go buy houses because stuff can change. They kept saying that. And they never said that until we got to like Robin Sage. Like right before we went to Robin Sage, they said, has anybody got a contract on a house? I was like, no. They was like, do not. I think they knew then.
Yeah.
And they were like, nobody buy a house because things could change. And this when we were getting to swap AOs, but we didn't know that. So we came back and they started reading off assignments and they're like, Fort Carson. I said, what? And the cadre that I spoke with a lot, he was like, yeah, they just they swapping around AOs. So a lot of y'all, he said, your whole French classes. That's why you had so many French guys coming out to Carson at that time. And we were just like, I was like, okay, all right. There were some guys that were pissed because they were in the 82nd.
Right.
And they didn't plan on, they wasn't getting ready to sell their homes or anything like that. They were just like, hey, business as usual. So it didn't really matter to me. I knew I didn't want to be cold, but like, whatever, man.
I mean, some of the coldest I've been was around Fort Benning, Georgia. Oh. You know, with that humidity and man, it's just that little drizzle. Mm-hmm. That was brutal. Okay, so now you get 10th group. What year did you sign into a group?
2010. Okay, that early summer. So was it April? I think it was either April or May. I got out there.
And you came straight to 4th Battalion.
Mm-hmm. And then I think they stood everything up that later that summer, maybe around July or something like that. Once they filled it, because they were still filling teams when I got there. And remember Sergeant Major Hollis Henry with the specs and the chain.
And his pogo stick. You remember that pogo stick?
I don't remember the pogo stick, but I remember the airplane. You remember that? Did you ever go out to you ever see his plane?
Yeah, I didn't fly with him, but let's see. I want to say one of my boys flew with him.
Yeah, he took all the kids up one weekend. We had a little function.
Did that barbecue out there at the airfield.
Yeah, I was out there flying the kids around. The Green Goblin, but I liked him. He came up to me, looked, he had them glasses on. All right, Blue, tell me about yourself. I talked to him. He said, are you a strong swimmer? I'm like, I do okay. He said, well, where would you like to go? Of course, I said, Halo team. He said, everybody want to go to Halo. Scared of heights? I said, honestly, I don't know. He said, did jumping out of the plane bother you? I said, not really. He said, all right, mountain team it is. Just like that. I'm like.
That's exactly how he talked.
Yeah, mountain team it is. Go down, you're going to see Christopher Myers. I'm like, okay, all right. And I think I met Christian before I met Chris.
Because Christian was an SUT instructor, wasn't he?
Yeah, and I don't know if Chris wasn't there. Or I answered the phone in the team. I did something. And it was Christian. And he started fucking with me right off the bat. And he started laughing. I'm like, but I think this was maybe just right after I had spoke to Chris, but he was messing with me right off the bat. And they sound just alike, But yeah, I went down there and met Chris, and I think I met Chief Chavez first. Chavez. Met him, and then Chris, and at the time, I think I don't think, was I the last one? No, I wasn't the last one to get to the team. Dan Finger, Charlie, he got there. He was the last one to fill that team out. But yep, 412.
Yeah, I remember. I was just across the hall.
Yeah, that was a good time, man. It was like, you know, your first team is always, you know, the special one, but it's like really that team was like, we clicked up. You know, Chavez called it he said something to the equivalent of the coalition team or something, because we had, you had Hondo, Native and Mexican. Then you had me, the only black dude. And who the fuck was calling me token? Aaron. Aaron would say that slick shit every now and then. Then you had who else? Cloby. Cloby was what? Polish American.
That's right. That's who I was thinking about earlier when you were talking about the other dude.
Yep, Cloby Dismas. Then you had Chris, you know, half German. Josh Droman, Kevin Guy, and Dan Finger, Joe Kelly. Yep, it was a good team. Paul Riddell. We had a good team. That first run is just funny. It's you know how 4th Battalion was then. It's just kind of, they were shaking everything out to see who was gonna get what, and I think I went to the right place because Chris was a little bit more laid back. But he still was stern, and I didn't know what to do. You know, I went to parade rest. He was like, "Don't do that shit." I'm like, okay. I'm like, I'm a senior non-commissioned officer, but right. I know I'm the new guy. And I don't have a problem calling people sergeant. You know, it's part of the thing. But Chris wanted Chris. You know how hard that was?
I mean, you'd spent your whole career in the regular Army to that point, so... Yep. What'd you have? At least 10 years in the regular Army, right?
By the time I got there, I had 10.
Yeah.
Yeah, by the time I got there. Yeah.
I mean, that's like going from an Android to, you know, an iPhone, bro. It's completely different world.
It was rough, man. I was like straight by the book. Like a lot of stuff I'm looking and stuff and okay, just trying to figure out where I fit in. I just kind of just shut my damn mouth, man, and just, you know, just did everything. Like, you remember Brandon Hancock?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
I talked to him about maybe a month ago, but I ran him crazy because
just picking his brain?
Yeah, he was on the beat. I'm like, I need to do this. He's like, why are you asking me this? He was a straight ass. I'm like, I don't know how to do this. He's like, where did you come from? And I told him. He was like, oh, okay. He thought I came from like Charlie, like our 3rd Battalion or somewhere or something like that because I was at E7. I'm like, no. He was like, and that happened a few times when I was up there. Because people thought because I was a sergeant first class, I just came from over, like from another battalion.
Well, when we filled 4th Battalion, that's what we did. We took all the senior E7s and pulled them over and built those teams out. So, yeah.
Yeah, he wasn't helpful for shit. Like, you know, because I had to run a range, got to get trucks, got to go through this and that. And I know how this works in the regular Army. Had no idea, you know, and I remember Major Joe Malone.
Oh, yeah.
I had a dispatch in my hand. I just caught him walking. I'm like, hey, sir, I need you to sign this. He looked at me. He took it and signed it. He was like, all right, what up?
Yeah, he's pretty cool.
Yeah. And Brandon like, hey, don't do that shit again. I'm like, I asked you like 3 or 4 times to get this signed for me. And I just saw him walking and I just... hey, I haven't had it in my hand and shit. He's like, don't do that again, you know. And it was a good time when I first got there, you know. Some good memories.
So you grew up, for the most part, in 410. Mm-hmm. And then, so how'd your career go? Did you stay in 410 the whole time?
So I didn't. What happened was I went from 1-2 to 1-6 for a trip, and then I went to SWIT early on, and saw Major Lou Palka. They were talking about career progression, and you know we kind of NCOPD kind of like, you know, it's just different over there. You know, guys who care about their career, if you let it be known, you will get the mentorship you need to get where you need to go. Some guys don't care.
Yeah,
they don't care about a board photo. They just, hey, I just want to work. But I actually knew I was behind. So because when I got selected, when I had my brief, they asked you what MOS you want.
Yeah.
The sergeant major at the time, he said, by doing this, you may very well retire as a sergeant first class because you're going to need like 5 NCRs before you can even get looked at for master sergeant and all this and that. And I'm like, I'm fine with that. I just want to work. I just want to do the job. So when I got there, I was in the Mars one day, just working, just reorganizing everything. Cause the shit was a mess. Shit was just kind of around. And it wasn't a lot of room in there. And Sergeant Major Palka came in there. He stayed in there with me for like an hour. I don't know what he had going on that day, but he helped me rearrange, helped me label my stuff, and we just in there talking. And I had took a bunch of shit out of the team room and brought it down there because he's like, why do you have all these EO techs in here? I'm like, all my stuff need to be secured. I said, I don't like the cool guy locker. I don't like everybody being able to punch into them little black lockers and grab an EO tech. So I put all my stuff out here. The next week, he made that mandatory for like everybody. So he would call, every now and then he would run into me and talk to me. So one day, me and Chris had to go up there. I thought I was in trouble. And he had went through the records and he was like, hey, you got to go to SWIC. Like, what? He said, if you want to get promoted, you have to go to SWIC. Because they already had sent me to jump. I went to Jump Master with like 15 jumps, something like that.
So you were at the bare minimum.
Because he knew.
Like waiverable, but.
Yeah, he knew. He was like, he looked out for me. He was like, I'm going to make sure. He said, you work hard. You do what you're supposed to. I'm going to look out for you. I'm going to make sure you get. And he would do it for everybody. But I don't think guys cared. I don't think guys cared about being team sergeant. Because they were so young, so they're not thinking about that.
Right.
But because I'm already past the 10-year mark, he was like, you got to go to SWIC. I did not want to go. I'm like, but my wife was happy about it. So I ended up going back to SWIC a little bit sooner than I would have liked to. Went to the Bravo committee, picked up 8 while I was there. Believe that shit. It's like that damn Lou. Man know what he was talking about.
He knew his shit for sure.
But it was crazy. I went to be the ops sergeant at BCO, and then I went back, and I went to 313 over in 3rd Battalion, and that was weird. Didn't know anybody, and it was like starting over again. It's like I did a group transfer.
It's crazy. You're just going across the street.
Everybody was gone. I knew they had disbanded, how they had moved guys around. Guys either went to Germany or 2nd Battalion. I didn't see anybody. I saw Matt Torek. That was the only person I saw from over there. And I was like, damn. I mean, everybody. Nobody was over there. So, but I was a team sergeant. So I wasn't too much concerned about that, but it wasn't like being on 412 because not only do I not know anybody, I had no prior knowledge of nobody on that team.
Okay.
Only 2 people in probably the whole company, two or 3 people. Wiseman Paul, he was in 4th Battalion for a little while, so I knew who he was.
Right.
But it was that was probably, and my family didn't come back to Colorado. They went to Texas because I knew that's where I was going to retire at.
Okay. So when you were leaving Bragg, you were already considering your retirement and kind of making out that plan.
Well, I knew I was going to be because I took some of the blood money. Didn't take all of it, took a little bit, but I knew that. But you had to re-enlist for a certain amount of time to get some of the money. And that put me right at 22. So I had the option, but my wife didn't want to go back initially. But if I'd have stayed and said I wanted to stay and be a sergeant major, they would have come up there.
Sure.
But I went out there and we did the Ukraine rotation. And we talked a little about that earlier. I don't want to go back and open that back up, but it was it's not what I thought it was. The job was great, but the dynamic and I hate using the excuse generational because the guys were not that much younger than me. At the time, I'm probably 39, 40 years old. Team is averaging between the ages of 22 to probably 32.
Okay.
Doesn't seem like a big gap. But when you stack on that I had been in the Army 19 years at this point, it's a big difference.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's a big difference. Like the way I approached things, the way I saw things, they weren't immature. They just hadn't, their considerations were a lot different. Their priorities were a lot different than mine. You know, it was, for me, it was team. And for some, I would say about half of them, there's a lot of me going on in there.
Right.
Me. I need, gimme, me. And I couldn't wrap I'm like, where did that shit come from? You know, it was, that was a little bit different. So I did that trip. I came back, and during that one, I dropped my retirement packet. So when I would say my intro to 10th group and my outro completely different. Sean Coffin was my sergeant major when we came back. Best thing he could ever done for me. We sat down and we just did a debrief, you know, talking about what's coming up next. And he was like, what do you want to do? I said, well, you know, I'm going to retire. So he was like, well, how about this? You hand off the team next week and you ride off into the sunset. I'm like, my final out is not till like May 2019.
So you still got, what, 18 months?
Yeah, this is July 2018. But because I had so much leave, I could be done in February. He said, I'm like, I don't need that much time. He said, you're gonna want that much time. He like, have you finished school? Like, no. He said, you're gonna need that time. He knew. Sean Kaufman is a very, very astute, very smart sergeant major. Well, he retired now. He just, in so many words, he was like, you need to go figure out, you know, what you're gonna do. And at first I just like, I'm back and forth to Texas. He's like, call me once a week. Let me know you're alive. He literally gave me that much rope, and I'll go home for a couple weeks. I'm on my motorcycle for 2 weeks. I rode from Colorado Springs straight down 25, cut through the San Juan, came out in Durango, camped out in Durango, all up and down 550, just camping and partying.
Nice.
Just on my motorcycle with a backpack, just throwing a hammock up in them Hennessy hammocks we had.
Yeah.
Sleeping all over all the place with those. Just Telluride, Ouray, just having a ball. And then finally I would go back up to Carson. I would check in. Then I go to Texas for like 2 weeks. And then in between that, I'm making my appointments, getting all my stuff done, disability, all this stuff. And when I left February the 8th, 2019, everybody's still gone. I went looking for guys. Everybody's either in Germany or deployed. So I left there. It's like I went and, you pick up your flag and all your stuff. Man, that was one of the saddest days of my life. I remember the reception, the SRP building. I think it was the SRP building at Carson.
Right there next to the hospital?
Yeah, well, the one that was, the hospital was up on the hill. This one was down on Main Post, not too far from the flagpole, but I walked out of there, and the ops sergeant major down there, he was like, smile, man. You got that flag in your hand. And I didn't realize how sad I was. I was like, oh, yeah, it's cool. Retiring. He said, how long did you do? 22 years, sergeant major. He's like, well, good on you. I got 3 more left, Have a good time, enjoy it. And I'm like, I felt sick to my damn stomach, man. I sat in my truck. I'm like, what did I just do? Like, what did I just do? I don't have a job lined up. I had been doing that SFL TAP program, but that I got absolutely nothing from that because I went into it not with a shitty attitude, but it's like, I'm Green Beret, it'll work out. I all the little briefs they give you.
Right.
Man, I showed up literally one day with a Hawaiian shirt and some chinos on.
Looking good.
Fitted, I'm fresh. I got them deployment muscles. I'm looking good. All these sergeant majors sitting in there and lieutenant colonels got on 3-piece suits and stuff. And this is what's crazy. I'm sitting in there. They got the civilians that's running it. They going and dudes are like, we working in little groups and we got to come up with these little intros and talk about what we're going to do. And everybody's nervous. All we got to do is talk about ourselves. Who knows you better than you? So it comes to me. I jump up. Hey, my name is Master Sergeant Ralph Blue. Such and such and such. I'm like, so 18 Bravo, retiring as 18 Zulu, such and such, blah, blah, blah. And I said, and I'm a Scorpio. And everybody bust out laughing and this and that. The civilian lady that was in the program, she was writing down stuff. I heard her lean over to the woman next to her. She's like, what's an 18 series? My whole world fell apart. That's when it hit me in that damn brief. Like, that's when it was like what? She was like, what is an 18 series?
Meant nothing to her.
Not a damn thing.
All of those 22 years, all that identity, and it means nothing to civilians.
All that little cute shit I just did, I'm talking about the only person that gave a damn about what I had done was the other 2 infantry guys that was in there with me. These 7 that we were hanging out that whole week, talking and stuff and trading stories, having a good time. But when she said that, I heard her, I'm like my whole world just stopped turning. I'm like, that's when it finally clicked. Nobody gives a shit, bro. That shit is done. That is over with, man. And that was, I finished out the little TAP program and all that stuff with no results, no leads, no nothing. So I went to San Antonio, and I still had from February to May before I started. Well, I was on terminal leave, so I'm still getting paid, right?
Right.
So I go down there, and I still don't know why I was doing this. Well, I kind of know. So I get down there, and I'm at the range every week, just putting in work, transition drills, this and that, up drills, just working at the local range. First time I ever been on a civilian range, I almost got kicked off it.
What happened?
I was in there with my wife's cousin, and we're shooting, and I see these big old rocks. So I'm pow, 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 pow. Some dude ran around, I cease fire, because they watching me on the camera. They're like, what are you doing? I'm shooting rocks, turning big rocks into little rocks. I'm trying to be cute. Pack your shit. I'm like, what the hell? And I had shot the targets up and was getting ready to pay some targets, but I just started blasting the rocks, these big clumps of rocks, And I had to go talk to the manager of the range. He like, you know how unsafe that is? It can ricochet. I said, it's in a burn. And then something told me, shut up. So I just let him, say his little spiel. And I said, sir, I apologize. This is my first time ever being on a civilian pay range. He like, did you not read the safety brief? I said, yeah, but in all fairness, he didn't say nothing about not shooting rocks. He said something about being unsafe. And to me, I'm a good shot and I'm not being unsafe. And he kind of smirked. It kind of how you laugh. He kind of laughed about that. He said, look, you just retired. I give you this one, but you can't do that. So growing pains right there. I'm like, what the hell? So I'm at the range like every other week. And my wife took notice of it. She's a very observant woman. And she'll go a long time before she say something. It's like you spend a lot of time at the range. Like, yeah, I got to keep my skills sharp. So you spend a lot of money too. And I was like, whatever. Really wasn't thinking about it. So I'm going through all of this. And then my cousin works for Department of Homeland Security in Atlanta. He was side hustling doing private security. He called me up. It's like March 2019. So I'm still on terminal leave. I'm in my garage doing something with some guns, cleaning up. He's like, what you doing? I'm like, nothing. He said, you still on terminal leave? I'm like, yeah. Like, you want to make like $600 a day? Like, absolutely. He like, get on a plane, be out here tonight. So I flew to Atlanta, and he put me on a job for Bad Boys 3. So Will Smith was staying in Buckhead. This is in a state detail. So I literally just sat in the driveway in a G-Wagon, making sure people leave him alone. And it was 12 on, 12 off for 3 weeks. Straight up. Money just, I don't have a contract. I don't have anything. I got an ID card. I still got an active ID card. And in the state of Georgia, you don't need a concealed carry permit if you have an active military ID.
Okay.
So that's the only credentials I had. He said, get a pair of khakis and a 2-button polo, black. And he gave me a jacket that said private security or something like that. So I'm like, he's like, do you have any credentials? I'm like, no. So while I'm working there, I get online and I take a online course for a level 2 security license in Texas. And that's okay. I got something right.
Okay.
So I'm doing it. So now I get back. I'm doing like I did that for 3 weeks, and it kind of set me up because I'm like I see Will. I met Will Smith and a few more people and stuff, and I'm like, I could get used to this.
Sure.
Got a nice little pile of money. I'm good. I get back to Texas and I teamed up with this other guy, and he's still working in the industry. Really good guy. He's really a forward thinking guy. He was like, we need to go to school. We need to get cred. So we went to, there's a school in Grand Junction called Executive Security International.
Okay.
And I went through their 30-day program, became a I want to say a professional, but actually took an executive protection course. Because up to that point, I thought it was just like PSD.
Sure.
Whatever, just, somebody come up here, butt stroke them, not a big deal. Just look mean, be tough. Nobody's going to come in this convoy or whatnot, So it was nothing like that. Completely opposite. A good school, learned a lot. Had to learn some people skills. Had to learn to work without a lot of stuff. When you got a 12-man ODA, you can do you can conquer the world. Half of a team you can do it. Doing that private security work opened my eyes to a lot of stuff. I had some cool experiences. I took the kids from Stranger Things, took them to Six Flags. Yeah, rode everything in there twice because everybody else was scared to ride all this shit with the kids. Yeah,
that's hilarious.
Yeah, man.
Quick question on the internet, on the school you went to.
Mm-hmm.
How'd you pay for that? Was that out of pocket or was that something?
GI Bill.
GI Bill. Okay.
So
how'd you work that?
So there's a lot of private security schools out there. If they're accredited, GI Bill.
Okay.
Straight up. I think it was $8,000. You send it. You just like any school you apply for, any college, trade school, whatever, and they pick it up, and they pay for every dime of it. They pay every bit of it. So, which was good because a lot of guys are gonna retire, and they're gonna come out thinking they know it all. Well, first of all, you don't have any type of credentials. Now, in the state of Texas, I don't know how it is out here. Private property, like you could hire somebody to work on your private property in Texas. You ain't got to have anything. It's private property.
Okay. You
can defend in the third party out there, so it's not a big deal. But you start moving around different places and whatnot. If you're not LE or if you don't have any type of credentials, because level 2 security, basically observe and report. Level 3, that's your uniform guys. Level 4 is what they consider the bodyguard, plain clothes and stuff like that. So that school teaches you about all of that stuff and gets you prepared to start. And they'll tell you, it's a good school. They even tell you how to break down the business part of it. Like people don't hire people for security. They hire companies for security. So that's where my security company came in. So that led me to starting Blue Scorpion Protection. That's literally me sitting here decided like, come up with a company name. My last name, Blue. I'm a Scorpio. I'm doing protection work. Boom. There it is.
Simple. Elegant.
Comma LLC. And they did that. And when we got back, this is pre-COVID, right before COVID kicked off. So we were doing a little work, but during COVID, things started kind of moving pretty good. And if guys are interested in it, I tell them, it's not as sexy as it look. It can be at times, but it's a lot of hurry up and wait, which you'll be used to, and then hoping that you get a phone call. Some places they'll put you on a roster. If you're good, you're at the top of the roster. You can go work for a company. You can go work for like Pinkerton, places like that. But if you don't want to be static, you probably gonna want to do something else. Some of them jobs are static positions. They have some private, they have clients that want like private security. So it's a lot of guys gravitate toward that way.
Yeah.
And then you're gonna hit those jobs where it's like, hey, you're gonna go to South Sudan for 2 weeks, and you're gonna move X. You're gonna go from point X to point Y. And what are we doing? What they tell you when you get there? Them the ones you get a lot of stuff like that will start coming across after a while. So guys will jump on that. Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's not. Some jobs are like what they call net 30. You do the job, you don't get a check for it could be up to 30 days.
Okay.
So it's like guys are like, I need some money, So once you get your name out there and you get a reputation for being somebody who's dependable, you show up on time, it's not that bad. But I would tell you, when I first started doing that, I was away from home more than when I was in the Army.
Yeah. I mean, when you're running your own business, it's a lot more hours.
Yeah. If this had been part of my plan before I left the Army, it'd have been a lot smoother. That's why guys need to take advantage of, like, when Sean told me to take that time, yeah, I needed a little break. But instead of being in the Rockies every other weekend on a damn motorcycle, I should have been trying to map out a business plan or something like that. And I think a lot of guys, when they get down to that point to where it's like, I'm going to get out and I'm going to go work for GRS. I mean, that's the thing. You can do that. I'm going to go work for, what's the other one? Casey. It's a whole asymmetrical warfare. There's a lot of places out there, right? But business is slowed down right now.
Yeah.
To a certain extent, So what do you have when those jobs slow down, when those contracts fold up? And I think a lot of guys, they don't think past that, because for so long you didn't have to. But now it is a real thing, Who I was talking to this one guy. He's a firearms instructor. He's out of third group. We're just talking online and kind of doing mentorship with him. He was like, I know I'm gonna do 20, but I'm not sure the next steps. I said, you need to either go be a level 3 Fox or warrant. He's like, I don't want to do any of that.
Yeah.
I'm like, for longevity, if you want to have something when you leave here, have some options, you might want to, because he's a Bravo right now. I'm like, swinging and banging is fun. I got it, but you got to start looking what comes next, what comes after. And a lot of guys, they don't want to go to the level 3 course. They don't want to go be a Fox. They don't want to be a warrant or anything like that, because, and like, do you have a degree? No. The options are going to be limited, But I was lucky. Just right place, right time. I did private security, and then eventually some of my clients was asking about firearms training. Can you teach me? And this was something I had started dabbling in a little bit. More security work than firearms training, because I'm sure I'm not the only person that has this notion that when I retired, my civilians can't shoot guns. They suck. They can't shoot. They don't know what they're doing. I went to a match and got my ass handed to me. Just dudes, that's all they do is shoot.
Yeah.
So I realized, I got humble real quick. Just like, okay, I know a lot of stuff, but these dudes are fast. They don't hit everything, but they're really, really, really fast. They're really fast. So, but I took what I did know and started teaching a lot of classes. I started attending civilian classes and getting faster, getting better, because a pistol is our secondary, it's not our primary.
Right.
The rifle is automatic, but the pistol, I always like to say the rifle is the bicycle, the pistol is the unicycle.
Yeah.
It takes a little bit, right? So got good on that. So now I'm doing security work and I'm doing firearms training. Well, I started kind of getting my purpose back, because I'm working with people and people are telling me, man, I've had this gun for 7 years. Thank you. I'm like, 7 years in what? And he's like, this is the first class I ever took. The class where I felt comfortable enough, because me not knowing that these trainers, they'll charge somebody $400 and they shoot 15, 20 rounds or whatever, 50 rounds. They just pick it up off the table, load, make ready, and pop, pop. Nah, you give me 4 hours, and I'm gonna have you come out of the holster. We working,
Right.
I'm gonna get you there, and I'm not scared to death if you don't have a proper grip. I'm not gonna yell at you, scream at you. I'm just gonna grab your wrist and correct you the same way we've done countless times to people we're training. So I'm like, this is pretty cool. I'm helping people. So that was going on, and then I was my good friend Nick Merrick. He was on 416 with me, and I hadn't seen him in a while, but we always had kept in touch. And he was like, "Hey, Gary Garza over with the Special Forces Foundation, they're looking for somebody to go out to Vegas and race in the Mint 400." I'm like, "What the hell is the Mint 400?" It's he like, "Oh, it's a desert race in UTVs." And I'm like, "Okay." He was like, "We don't have to pay for anything. We just show up." I'm like, "Okay." So we go out to Vegas, and what it is there's Zero Racing was they had a group, the military class, where they had UTVs that were designated for every branch of the military. All right. So they had one for the Green Berets, one for the Navy SEALs, and all this other stuff, right? But because me and Nick are on the tail end of this, right, we show up there. We didn't get there late, but we're not part of any of the preparations. So we see all the UTVs lined up in nice, shiny, red Polaris 1000 XP. They had the turbocharged ones and this and that. We like, brand new. We like, shit, right on. And the guy was like, "Hey, you the Army guys?" We're in the little hangar. We're like, "Yeah." He said, "This is yours." We look. I'm like, "What the hell?" It wasn't a piece of shit, but it wasn't what everybody else had, because they hadn't heard from the Army and they didn't know whether or not we was going. They knew we was going to do it. These guys, and because they had to like put the decals on us and all that, there's a little animosity. Like, you showing up like 2 days before the race,
Sure,
and you haven't done anything. So we looking at these other UTVs. They look like cockpits to airplanes. There's screens, man. It's shit like all your setup in here. There's screens and stuff everywhere. I'm looking. I'm like, our shit just like somebody just took it out of the motor pool. And I'm like, we got a GPS? I'm like, Nick, like, fuck it. We took some duct tape and put a Galaxy phone on the roll cage.
problem solved.
And we came in third. So fuck it.
Damn. Out of how many teams?
Like 7.
Okay. Yeah, but you're in the bottom half.
That's good. Yeah, we just toughed it out, man. We blew 2 clutch belts and stuff, but what the takeaway was, the next morning we sitting there, because the race is like 12 hours, okay. 300 miles in the desert.
Gotcha.
100-mile laps and stuff, and we didn't know what we were in for, man. They're switching out people. They got relief drivers, and we in there just toughing it out. It's cold. It gets really cold in the desert at night in Vegas. So the next morning we eating pancakes somewhere, and we're just like, how do we get this out to the boys? This was cool. They had celebrities there helping us. Josh Koscheck was there.
I like Josh.
Couple more, yeah. Really nice guy.
Yeah,
he's helping
check
us
defense. He helped me out with the Best Warrior competition. He was guest referee one year. Great dude. I like Josh.
Told that dude, I said, "You missed your calling, man. You've been a cool GP." He said, "I probably would have, man. But I like beating up people." I'm like, "Yeah, you're good at it." But he just working with those guys, the camaraderie.
Yeah.
You know, once we got past all the tough guy shit in the beginning, the guys, one of the guys who owned Zero Racing, and he was a Marshal, he was a Raider. And then you had Lieutenant Colonel Jody Lynch. He was getting ready to retire. He was racing for the Raider team. We all became fast friends and stuff, and they do this all the time. We're like, how do we do this?
Right.
So that started Green Beret Racing. That's where that came from. When the Special Forces Foundation sent me and Nick out there, we initially started underneath like Special Forces Foundation, but they got so much stuff going on. We like, Nick, how about we just do our own nonprofit? And Nick, I give him the credit for it. He went head first into it. He figured out how to do it. You know,
he did the Pikes Peak race, right?
We sponsored somebody. We had a car there. Nick I'm sure he was up there.
Okay, yeah, I saw pictures of the car, and I don't remember.
So what Green Beret racing started as was, how do we get guys in the desert racing? All right, how do we get them out there? We quickly found out that racing takes a lot of money. So we didn't have a car. Polaris gave us one that had been rolled over, had about 2,000 hours on it. So we put it together. We started racing it. And we had people just volunteering to come out, help turn wrenches. And sometimes we finish, sometimes we don't. You know, the last one I raced in Vegas to Reno, I knocked the whole rear axle off. Just, it's so heartbreaking. You racing and we're switching off. It's a team event. There's a rock in the middle of the road. I go to dodge it. I get airborne because I hit the bank. and I come down on top of another rock, completely knocks it off.
Man.
Race done, not just for me, but for the whole team.
Yeah.
Dude, I hadn't felt that bad since I fucked up like something with an ODA. I forgot I did something and I just screwed something up. That's how bad I felt. And it's good when it's good and it's bad. The bad times, people they pissed at you. It's okay, man. Just like on the ODA, it's okay. We'll fix it next time. So the thing was to get everybody to start taking guys like, hey, if you want to come out, some guys don't want to race. They just want to hang out. They want to turn wrenches, drink a couple of beers, be around team guys again. So you have the motorcycle racing. We have the UTVs, and then like Pikes Peak. So what we started doing was we put it out there. If there's a GB, he wants to race. He doesn't know where to start. Maybe he wants to do rally cars. Well, we're going to start making phone calls and figure out how to get him in a rally car. Maybe he just rides along. Maybe he just he gets to go in a pit. He wants to get in the NASCAR. We know one of the VPs from Speedway. Hey, we can get a guy up here. Maybe he can hang out in the pits for a weekend while they're training, just to see if he wants to do that. Trying to put guys in position and then sponsoring them. If maybe they want to do the Leadville 100. Hey, let's get him some shoes. Let's help him out. Let's get him there. Because one thing I take away from racing, when you look at how we're wired, right? Some people equate it to maybe being a little crazy, but I know for myself, there's nothing. As hard as I try to get it back, there's nothing that I've done that gives me that satisfaction of being on an ODA.
Yeah.
I've done some really cool stuff since I retired, but that portion, that camaraderie, having guys who will argue with you for a week straight and they still love you, that's your brother. As soon as it's the switch is on, it's go time. Nobody's even thinking about that shit we're just fighting about.
Right.
And when you retire, you don't always get that depending on where you work at. So Green Beret racing, that started, and I didn't realize how serious something like that was. And my old team song was on here, Christopher Myers. And when he was there, he talked about my junior Bravo, Aaron Lindsay. Aaron took his life that same year we started doing that. And Chris, and I hope he gets to see this, he takes a lot of that blame for that. But it's just not him. I was talking to Aaron, and I said, Aaron, come to Texas. Come to Texas. So Aaron took his life. He took his life, and like Chris had mentioned, not to go back through all of that, we would hear from Aaron. Aaron left the Army on not so good terms. Chris got him squared away with some stuff, but essentially he went from being a great Green Beret to he's just out here flapping. So he was my junior Bravo. He went back to California, then he was in Oregon, just kind of bumping around. And we would hear from him, then we wouldn't hear from him. And then he was kind of going through some stuff. Then we found out he had took his life. But prior to that, he's kind of talking to people, and I'm like, you need to come to Texas. He's like, well, what's up with Green Beret Racing? How can I be a part of that? Because he had a Hayabusa he was rebuilding. I said, we hadn't got that far yet. We just got this thing figured out. So it's desert racing for now. Keep working on the bike because he wanted to drag race it. We're turning into a drag bike, but we got to get some money. We ain't got any money right now. We got to figure out how to do this. And he was like, okay. So I'm like, why don't you just come to Texas? Come stay with me. Come run some ranges. You can come do some teaching with me. Put some money in your pocket. Didn't hear from him. The next time we hear something, he's dead. But when I think about it now, one thing people, they'll say, right, well, I didn't see it coming. Never knew it could happen. I would be a fucking liar if I didn't say it, didn't tell the truth and say that there was something there with Aaron. We saw it. We didn't know how to address it at the time. Hindsight is 2020, like a motherfucker, right?
Right.
Aaron was, when his highs were high, they were good, but his lows were super low. Chris talks about he talked one particular time about how we were training.
Yeah.
Aaron made a mistake. Mistakes happen. He didn't transition to his sidearm when he should have. We're training, right? Aaron took that really, really hard. Now, I'm not going to say he shouldn't have took it that hard, but it meant it was that much to him. So at that point, you got to ask yourself, like, okay, how much emotion is good emotion? And how much emotion is, hey, you got to reel it in, you know? And there was a couple things that happened. Like I said, I'm not going to get into it. That was like, I know myself. If I'm thinking it, then somebody else is thinking it too.
Right.
But Aaron was my brother, loved him to death. He used to come pick my son up and they go skateboard. He was a big kid. You know?
Yeah, he was.
He had that Hummer. They ran around on longboards at Memorial Park in Colorado Springs skating and stuff. And we'll have him like half the day bringing back full of ice cream and all type of shit, you know. But to sit here and say that everything was okay, because it wasn't. You know, he had a bad spiral before he got out of the Army, but the takeaway is that we have to be more proactive if we even sense it. Ask the question. Dude, are you thinking about hurting yourself? No, fuck you. Okay, I was just asking because you're acting real funny right now. Your behavior is peculiar, and I'm concerned about you. That's real hard to say to people sometimes. It shouldn't be, but I think had that been said to him a couple times, it kind of put him back on course. Like we're recognizing that something is wrong, because I flew out there. I met his family. They had a memorial for him when they finally got everything situated. I flew out to Oregon, and I met his family, his sister. No shit, is Aaron with long hair. Like,
that's what Chris was saying.
She would kick the shit out of you, man. She's in phenomenal shape. Brooke she's amazing. She does like fitness and health and wellness and stuff. And I talked to her. She saw some things, but what do you do with it?
Yeah.
You know, what do you do with it? So now so when we looked at Green Beret racing, it became not just an outlet to go out and just have a good time, but to prevent people from doing something to themselves when they just can't take it anymore. You come out, hey man, you take a horse off a track, you gotta let him go run somewhere else. Yeah. You can't immediately just throw him in a stall. He'll kick it to pieces. He'll hurt himself. But that's essentially what we do, right? You take somebody who spent 20 plus years or however long doing something. Now all of a sudden you tell them, go put on a suit, go put on a tie, sit behind a screen, get under some fluorescent light, and behave.
Yeah. No, I did an event this weekend with Special Forces Foundation, and one of the guys that was there, he was an older dude, and he described it really well. He said it's like you're used to driving at 110 miles an hour everywhere you go. You're flying, and now you're stuck in a school zone. But your engine's used to revving up to a certain point, and that's where it's stuck. But you're stuck in a school zone. And for a lot of these dudes, you know, they don't know how to contain that, find a new purpose, like what we've been talking about here. And I agree with you. In most cases, we just got to get a dude out of his head, out of that situation. The sky's falling right now, but in most cases, it's a very fixable thing, and we just got to get him out of that point.
And it has to be very deliberate. I know at some point I wanted to be able to go back to group and have these conversations, and not with all the PowerPoint and tell them, like, give me the guys who got 6 months left. We finna go talk. There ain't no slideshow. Ain't gonna be none of that shit. We gonna sit down and I'm gonna tell you exactly what's going on out here and what you need to be preparing yourself for. Because I think there are things in place for people. Typically, those things work out for guys who are already preparing, though.
Yeah.
You know, who already been looking down the road. They have an idea. They kind of know what they want to do. You know, so those programs help them. When you have that guy who literally just like, he was in the team room all the way up until the day before he left.
Right.
Yeah, he could have been on terminal leave, cash it out, whatever. He wants to be there until he's not. And then it's like, he's fighting for a job, and the job is, to me, it's like we talked about this a little bit earlier. You retire, disability, retirement, 20 plus years, it's celebrated.
You made it.
You made it. That's it. Top of the mountain. You can kick back, and all the money in the world is not gonna fill that hole.
That's right.
That hole, that gap, because the guys gotta go to work. They love you. They got shit to do.
They do.
That long range training calendar does not stop because Blue retired. Hey man, hey, hit us up if you need something. I'm in Texas. I found myself going over to Lackland Air Force Base. I was 15 minutes from Lackland. So I go to the gym and work out, and I'm instantly disgusted. I'm like, I'm in here with these fucking civilians. Air Force, I'm calling them civilians, because that's what it looks like to me. And then I heard somebody say something about the, where is it at? There's another, you have a gym that's dedicated to where the PJ's at, and the TAC Ps and all the combat controllers. I went to that gym. I'm like, yeah, I'm going where the meteor is at.
Yeah.
So I go over there, and there's tire flipping going on outside. There's turf. There's hammers flying all over the place. I'm like, yup, this is what I'm talking about. I go in there and I start working out. Nobody asks me if I belong there or not. They don't know. I'm in civilian clothes, beard and stuff. Nobody's telling me I can't work out in there, right? So I'm just getting it in. Nothing. Even though these dudes are not my guys. They're doing some of the. I mean, it looks like a baby Thor.
Right.
The area they got over there. So I'm feeling like I'm back in my realm. I'm around guys who are. This is Air Force Special Operation. These guys work out the same way we do. Nowhere near the same. I went over there like 3 times trying to. I don't know what it was. I don't know what I was looking for in that gym. Maybe somebody will recognize me. I'm thinking maybe there's a TAC P over here. Maybe I'll bump into somebody I know or something or whatever. I don't still to the day. I don't know why I felt like that's where I was supposed to be at, because that's the closest thing to special operations to where I was at.
Right.
And nothing, dude. That feeling is so empty. So it's like, why did I retire, man? At this point, the B team don't seem so bad. Just being, maybe going to be a first sergeant is not so bad. That shit was terrible, man. I'm just like, holy shit, man. But luckily, like I say, the security worked, Green Beret Racing. And speaking to them real quick, do a quick plug. So, like I said, we started with Green Beret Racing. It was just the desert racing, doing the UTV racing. Then what you saw with Pikes Peak, and then they had, at the drag strip one night. So now we're introducing Battle of the Branches. So what we're doing, we're taking Crown Vics, the 2011 straight up police cruisers.
Right.
There's going to be one dedicated to every branch. And we're working it out to race those in the Mint, because they have a class out there where you'll see somebody out there racing a limousine. That's like a lifted limousine with a roll cage in it, and they have that class. So we're going to race in that class, just something totally different from what we've done with the UTVs. So we're in the process now of getting the money up. We've secured 2 Crown Vics so far. So we just got to get the rest of them. And it's I'll make sure I send you the info on it. So,
yeah, please do.
But it's going to be a blast. Trying to get some law enforcement involved, to bring a couple of those guys out to maybe tool on them for us and stuff. What better vehicle to race in? Chase each other around, and we get to put lights on it, because you have to have all your race lights on these vehicles for the desert. You got to have a siren. Got to have all that stuff. So we're going to have each one themed out for each branch. So that's coming up. That'll be in the early spring of next year. So we're running at the Mint, but that's going to be good. I'm excited about it. Like I said, we've done the UTVs. I ran 4 races. I probably won't even drive in this one. I just want to see somebody else get that rush, because the racing, even though the desert racing, there's times that you go fast, but they have a portion of it where it's almost like salt flats. It's like power lines, but it flattens out. And whatever you're pegging it, bap, and here comes a trophy truck barreling past you running 150 miles an hour on dirt. And like the tires are barely touching the ground. It's just flies by you. And then there's a UTV chasing him. And then there's the damn Mint 400 helicopter chasing them, getting all this on film. And you're right there in the middle. And you're like 4 wide. It's like hauling ass through the desert. And it's you're getting the shit beat out of you. But I can't explain how that feels. It's so good because you break that vehicle, you fix that vehicle, you keep on racing while you're out there. You're out there the whole time. You come into the pit, team take care of the vehicle, get it back going. The dirt bikes, the guys run 150 miles on the dirt bikes. You can do it as a team event or you can do it as a single one. And Nick did a single one, and he came in there and he was trashed. His body shot. I don't know if he bust. I think because, Nick Merrick is a big dude. I think he busted back rim on it, so he has to get a new rim. Sometimes they bend handlebars, and everybody just all smiles. All smiles. They're out there punishing themselves in the desert to race. So I equate it to a good fight.
Yeah.
You get into a fight, and those 2 days later when all those bruises up, you was like, or maybe I'm just weird. I'm like, yeah. You know.
These days it seems like it's about a week later. You're still hurting from the fight, even when you win. It's
funny how that happens, and the stuff hurt that wasn't even involved in the fight.
Right, but it makes you feel good.
Yeah. I think it just makes you feel alive. So, and that's what we hope to get from Green Beret Racing to get guys, and as Nick like to put it, give them a reason to hit that clock in the morning. Yeah. If you have a race coming up and you're getting ready to race a dirt bike for 150 miles and you're out of shape, you're going to get in shape.
Well, absolutely. It goes back to when we're in the military, you're always prepping for something, whether it's a deployment, whether it's another school.
That part.
And you've got those 10-meter targets, those 5-meter targets, whatever that you're focused on. And it's all part of the long-term plan. They all coincide, but we've also got a roadmap, right? We've got what is it, like 625 something, right? Which tells you if you want to get promoted, you go to this school, go do this course, right? And so we have that in our military career, but then we get out and it's a blank canvas. Right. It's like choose your own adventure now. So for those of us that are see one, do one, teach one, I think these stories and these podcasts really do a good job, right? Because it's like, that is something I can get into, man. Driving in the desert, and I mean, it reminds me of Griffin Group. I mean, the only thing we're missing is, getting pepper sprayed and tased, some things, right? Yeah. But so those are good times, man. So we'll drop a link for sure about the Green Beret Racing. Yeah. And so for dudes that just want to join the team, all the information's there. People that want to donate. Everything exists.
Yep, everything will be there with the website. It'll be a QR code. They can scan it. Everything is right there. And then you'll have a point of contact down there where you can actually talk to people. We're not so huge that you're talking to 3 people before you talk to Nick or you talk to me or whatever. It's not like that. We had to take a small hiatus just because racing takes a lot of money.
Sure.
And not blaming anybody, but patriotism it's not what it once was. It's just what it is. And part of it is people, when we're at war, they're like, hell yeah. When we're not, let me think about it.
Right.
It's just what it is and stuff, so trying to get the funds for it because we want everybody to have a good time. We want people, so far we've been able to get people out there. We've always been able to get Airbnbs. So guys don't have to stay in hotels. Only if they can get there, then we got everything else for the most part. We get the food and stuff, but trying to get funding for it, that's always the toughest part. And it's hard to ask for money. You go up and because I know the first year me and Nick was doing this, we were all the way out in Savannah, Georgia, and you tell your story over and over, and over to the point, and it's like, damn, it's you know why you're doing it, but it's mentally exhausting sometimes. And some people are like, Nick is great at it. Nick Merrick, if you've ever met him, he's the ultimate pitch man. You know, he can sell sugar to a cake. That's his thing, man.
Nice.
But trying to get funds for that, but that's coming up, and I think guys should look for that, even if it's not with Green Beret Racing. I think when we get out, like a lot of times, we're so hell bent on going the other direction, and into well, that's what I did. I'm dropping that now, moving on to something else. They forget to take the parts that make them good, that make them a tolerable human being. My wife told me, she's like, you're a better person after you work out. I'm like, you know, she didn't say those exact words, but she alluded to it that like I can tell when you've had a good run or a good workout. So that lets me know that when I'm exercising my body, when I'm pushing myself, when I'm doing hard things, I'm happier.
Right.
I may not feel like it in the moment, but because we know guys, they get out, and some guys are too injured to keep running, to working out and stuff like that. But you drop the sense, you lost the purpose. And then if you lose the drive and you're not making any money, that's like the perfect storm for self-destruction.
Absolutely.
You know, right there. So with Green Beret Race, we're hoping to give them back. Even if they have a job they don't like, they got an outlet with going to race and giving them a reason to, well, I know next March I'm going to be doing X, Y, and Z with Green Beret Racing. So, you know, let me actually start getting ready for something. You know, give me a reason to get up in the morning, you know.
Well, I know one of the other things you're doing is trying to help motivate people on the daily, right? Just through your daily routines. So what are you doing that? What platform are you using for that mostly?
So it's on Instagram, and what happened was it started a few years ago, but I didn't really like put it out there. So there's a challenge, and a lot of people have seen it's called 75 Hard. And it's like usually the first 75 days of the year, of the New Year's, when people try to get back into fitness, but they'll drop off after that.
Sure.
So this one is like, I can't remember everything to it, but it's like 75 days of, you got to drink like a gallon of water. You do a two workouts a day, something else. And the biggest thing is no alcohol.
Okay.
People tell you that's what they have the biggest problem with, not drinking for 75 days.
Does that blow your mind?
Yeah, it shouldn't be that hard, right? So 2023, I did it. Now, there were days where I didn't drink a gallon of water. Some days I didn't get all the workouts done, but I didn't drink. So I went 75 days, I didn't drink. And what I found at the end of it, I didn't miss it. So I just went the rest of the year, no alcohol. 2024, I drank. Wasn't as much. So this year when it came around, I did it again. So I haven't drank any alcohol this year. And on top of that,
And we're in September.
yeah. It was going pretty good. And I don't miss it. And also, I picked up weight. I work for a major gun manufacturer. I'm on the road a lot. I teach firearms training. I teach armors courses almost every week. And you'll start eating bad. No matter how hard you try, if you don't have a plan, you will start eating like shit. And when we teach the classes, we provide lunch for the class. Most of the classes, the people, they order, we tell them, hey, there's your dollar amount, order the food. It's pizza.
Yeah.
It's, it's sandwiches, but with all this shit on them. It's sometimes it's Chick-fil-A and whatnot, and it's a lot of fast food, right? So what I did was I sat down and I was like, all the stuff I've done, you mean to tell me you can't have enough discipline to take care of yourself and watch what you eat because I'm taking blood pressure pills and cholesterol pills? I'm like, this can't be my life. So portion control, no alcohol. And I started doing 30 minutes on the treadmill and then doing a HIIT workout. The whole thing would take me an hour every day. The weight just started dropping. Just like that. No supplements, no nothing. I went from 231 all the way down to like 192.
Nice.
And I'm back up to like 198 now. And people have seen me, they're like, are you sick? Because I haven't been this small since 2000, since 1999, since I went to Germany the first time.
Yep.
So what I started doing, I was just, because people asked me like, what are you doing? So I started posting small clips on Instagram. And it's under, the handle is outside, it's outside underscore all the time written together.
Outside underscore all the time.
All the time. Because and it started with me fishing, because I love kayak fishing and just having like fishing, bass fishing in the kayak. And it's the weirdest thing, because a fish this small can spin a whole kayak around. And they'll hit it, and they'll just, as you're reeling, your kayak is just turning. It just gives me a rush, man.
Sure.
I love fishing, right? So I started doing it, and I'm outside. Like, if I'm inside too long, I start getting stupid. I feel like I don't think I'm claustrophobic, but I have to be outside every day. The more I'm outside, the better I feel.
Right.
Whether it's hot, cold, doesn't matter. So I started on that platform, started talking about it. And I try to convey to people that it doesn't take as much as you think. Monitor what you eat, and that doesn't mean changing up everything you eat. Just don't eat so much of it. You know, calorie counting, maybe that's not your thing. If you don't like to count calories, whatever you eat, cut it in half. You know, if you like eating 2 big ass pieces of salmon, maybe eat 1 piece.
Right.
And just have some discipline. Eat real food. And
that's big.
Yeah,
right?
Just eat real food. Just eat. If the shit is in a box, leave it where it's at. Eat fruit. Eat real food. You know, just do those things. Drink a lot of water. And it was crazy. All these years of doing whatever and taking this and that, it started coming off just like that. And to the point to where I got down to where I've lost a lot of muscle, because I refused to take like any protein shake, and I should have, to retain muscle mass, but I didn't, because I wanted to prove to myself that I could do this. And it took maybe 4 months. 4 months.
40 pounds.
Just dropping off to the point to where it was like, the only thing about it, once you get used to eating the less amounts, some days you don't even eat all of that.
Yep.
And that's kind of screws you up a little bit, because you're like, wait a minute, that was only 1,800 calories and I only ate half of that. I need to eat something else, you know. And I'm working out the whole time, but it shows you what the body can adjust to if you just have a little discipline. So I talk to people, I'm like, hey, they're like, well, I can't run, my knees hurt. Everybody knees hurt.
Yeah.
Come on. You know, my back hurt. You know, I did this and that. Ice them up, man. I mean, we can make excuses. Everybody's good at that shit. But if you can't walk, then run. I mean, if you can't run, then walk. 10 minutes out, 10 minutes back.
Right.
When you think about it, if people go, and I did this one day, just time yourself on everything you do. Just get a little notepad. How long were you in the bathroom? How long were you drinking coffee this morning? How long did you mess around in the bathroom getting dressed? Like, how long did it take you to do this thing? There's time. People say, I don't have time. There's plenty of time.
Yeah.
I got up one morning. I just set the time on my watch just to see, you know, how long it would take me before I actually got started with my day. 45 minutes.
We're just tooling around.
Got up, took a piss, made some coffee. Made the coffee, went outside for a minute, popped my neck, stood there, did a little journaling. And that's good for me, writing a few things down. Went back in, made another cup of coffee. Went to the front, turned the sprinklers on, kind of looking around and stuff. And I had in my mind I was going to run. And I wanted to run before the sun came up, because I live in Texas and it's hot. I finally get around to go to running. Now the sun is up. I'm like, what the fuck? What am I doing? So building habits and I talk to people about this as well. I know I want to run in the morning. Have my running clothes already out.
Yeah.
Just say, I'm sitting right there. Get up, brush your teeth, put your clothes on, hit the door. But we make excuses and we don't do things. We will go to a job and we will spend 8 to 10 hours at that job, and you won't give yourself 30 minutes. And a lot of people hate their jobs.
Yeah.
But they're going to be there from 8 to 10 hours, but they will not give themselves 15, 20 minutes, 30 minutes for their health.
Well, it's like the saying that's starting to go around now, right? It's like, I'll do anything in the world for you, right? There's nothing I won't do for you. I'll put my life on the line for you. And it's like, okay, well, will you get healthy for me?
Yeah.
Like, will you stop smoking cigarettes? Will you stop, like that's, like, we won't do it for ourselves. So, no, that's a great point, man.
I'm telling you, I was somewhere last week and I'm trying to remember who I heard say it. They said if they knew they were going to live this long, they took better care of themselves. What was I watching? And because they never expected, they just kind of just going about life. And now they're older and they're fucked up, on all types of medication not because they did anything crazy, just because they didn't take care of themselves and watch what they eat. Had I known I was going to live this long, I would have taken better care of myself. I'm like, that is wild to me.
It is.
But yeah, on outside all the time, I just talk to people. And what happened was me just bumping my gums like I do, like I'm always doing. People started reaching out to me. Like, hey man, I started walking. What do you recommend for shoes? I'm like, what? The ones that fit. We talking about walking. I mean, but I had to look at it the way people reach out to me about firearms training. They're asking genuine questions because whatever you've done has caused some influence on them. And they want to set themselves up for the best possible situation. So if it's getting a pair of Hokas that they probably don't need because I'm wearing running shoes and they talking about walking, they probably could go get something else, then go get them. If that's what, and so you start realizing there is some positive influence to what you're saying. So that in the mental health and wellness portion of it, because I never paid attention to that till right before I retired. And I was doing one of the trips where I wasn't isolated, but I felt isolated. So I started doing yoga and meditation. And the meditation is a weird thing. And I started following this app called Headspace. Started using the app. And it starts you off at 5 minutes. And it talks to you. It's a good way to start. And it talks about the monkey mind and, how to calm yourself. None of that shit worked for me. My brain likes the monkey mind. It likes all the chaos. So what I had to learn to do is not fight with it, address the thoughts, and then let it move on. And it helped me gain clarity to so much shit, man. But Headspace. That's the name of the app.
Okay.
Headspace. You start with that, and it's free. Going on YouTube, you can either download the app and it has so many free clips, or you can go. Now it's on YouTube, but it's a good way to start to get in that space. And I can't even cross my legs and sit like yoga style. I can't. Yeah. My hips are too jacked up.
My knee comes out of place or something. It's weird.
But I know how to be still and do that. And I think exercise, being outside, getting yourself mentally squared away will help so many people. But again, how do you get guys to buy into it? How do you get people to, oh, that's some hokey shit, and how to get treatment, how to help themselves? Because going back to Aaron, like, we didn't have any tools to give him.
Yeah.
There wasn't, Green Beret racing was just barely something. There was nothing. So that's why I kind of went to outside all the time. That's why I learned to just start putting things out there. And eventually in the next year, I will start, I'm going to create a podcast where I talk to different people about their regimens of health and wellness. Because I know I think they're cool to me.
Yeah, absolutely.
You're a cool person to know. I think people like to know, what is your day-to-day? And that's something we don't talk about. We talk about, things that we need to do, things how we can help people. But something as simple as, hey, I get up in the morning, I sit on the edge of the bed, I rotate my neck, I wiggle my toes, I stand up, and I do a half knee bend or something. And then, I start my day. I have a cup of coffee, I stretch while I'm waiting on it. Then I go out, I do 15 minutes of yoga. People think that they got to go out and spend all this money. Yoga with Adrian. It's a little girl in Austin. Web series on YouTube is amazing. She got everything from beginner to yoga for for runners, and she's not boring. She's not boring, but Yoga with Adrian.
Yoga with Adrian.
It's free. It's free. You do your yoga, you start your day. And even if you're not a big runner, you're not big on working out, you've done something to get the blood flowing. That downward dog, if you have high blood pressure, you're going to know it in about 3 seconds because your head
starts throbbing.
So it wakes you up. And those are things that people need to know. And that's my goal. I just want to get people to start moving again because COVID really fucked us, man.
Sure did.
Yeah. People have gotten so used to just being sedentary. They don't want to do anything. They're scared to do anything. Every year my family has a big 4th of July party. And we out there, and it's hot. It's hot in Georgia, all right? And the goal is to keep all the kids outside all day long. We have coolers and coolers of like water, Gatorade. And the kids that are from like 10 years old and down, it's good.
Yeah.
You know who we have to run out of the house?
Teenagers. And the young adults.
It is wild. They're all in there packed on the couch in the AC. I'm like, I go in there, I'm like, everybody get the hell out. And they're looking at me because I'm an older cousin. Some of them, they barely know me. I'm like, get your ass up out of here. Go outside. But it's hot. Of course it is. Go outside. Sit by a fan. But get outside. And so far, it's been doing really well. People are getting used to like being, sweating is not going to kill you.
Right.
It's going to be okay. We have basketball tournaments and stuff, but it's every year it gets better. And next year I'm going to introduce a run. So from the county seat to where I grew up is 7 miles. So
ooh,
yeah,
that's a good distance.
It's a nice little trot. It's a nice little trot.
You're gonna have to start them off at 0.4.
I'm gonna make it fun. It's gonna be
water points and whatnot.
Water points, and we have different stuff. And we you break it down.
Sure.
5K, 10K. Just everybody does it. If you can make it this far, you get this and that. But then eventually we all end up at the house. But trying to get people to. You got to get me excited about doing stuff and about their health because at this point I think for all the cool stuff we got to do, that's over with.
Yeah.
What comes after is just as important as what we did if you want to have longevity to your life. And hopefully this reaches people. Some of the guys that are retiring, because not all of them are going to go get jobs that keep them active.
Yeah.
We
got a lot of changes coming with AI and just, there's a lot of new stuff going on in our country and a lot of uncertainty. So, yeah. Yeah.
It's that reach and trying to help people. I was talking to met a guy a couple weeks ago. He wants to start a nonprofit. He's a competition shooter, and he wants to get veterans to sponsor other veterans to go out and shoot. Police our own selves up. He doesn't. Right. I would put the name out for it, but he doesn't have it yet. He's still working on it. I think it's a cool concept, but AI. He's trying to figure out how to get a name, to do this and that, to build curriculum. I said, use AI.
Yeah.
Man, I hate that shit. Like, look, bro, I got it. I didn't want anything to do with social media when I retired.
I didn't want anything to do with the internet when it first came out. I think a lot of us were in that boat.
To get guys to maneuver in that space, the younger guys will be fine. It's the old dogs.
Yep.
Trying to get them to do it because if not, it's gonna run right by them, But I got hope that and I think it may be a naive thought, but I think if people are just being physical, somewhat fit, everything else just kind of seems to work itself out.
Right.
Because the 3 things I always ask myself, like before I blow my stack, before I think it's the end of the world, before I think everything is bad, it's is the family okay?
Mm-hmm.
Am I okay? Is the money okay? And money ain't everything, but we need it.
Sure.
If that's fine, then what am I mad about? We got somewhere to live, got food on the table, nobody's sick, nobody's hurt, nobody's gonna die. Because the worst thing you could do is get emotional about something and make a decision that's going to cause a negative second and third order effect.
That's right.
And people do that. As much as we practice it in the military, they do that shit when they get out. You know, one of them being suicide. Like you said, if they feel like there's a problem and they feel like they are the problem because they can't keep a good job or they can't get a good job or now they have to be around their family all the time.
Yeah.
First time they've ever done that, it's weird. You know, me and my wife, it wasn't weird with us, but the first time I had to stay gone a year and then come home, what the hell?
There's some growing pains.
Yeah, man, that shit was rough. You know, so you got some guys and girls who retired, they spent the whole career back and forth. So now you're home every day.
Yeah.
Yep. Mama's problems are your problems. You know, there's not a pre-train up coming up. We got to go to new. So I think if guys can start recognizing it before it gets there, it's going to help them a lot. Like I said, being fit and being open to things, you know, it's just I worry because like suicide rates are not getting better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All the awareness we're spreading, everything you guys are doing, it's like our numbers aren't they're not changing.
Mm-hmm. That's the thing. It's like we go back and you would like to say that there's an easy fix to it. And I remember Aaron Lindsay would say something. It's ironic. Aaron would always say, you always got a choice. That was one of his things.
Yeah.
Yeah. Even though his choice was to not be here.
Yeah.
Like at the end of the day, it's like he said, you always have a choice. So when you think about it, when those guys, when they make their mind up, you know, it's about how do we get to them way before that point.
Right.
You know. So I think healthy living, clean living, trying to break that culture of, you know, it's a lot of drinking in the military, and I'm not blaming the Army for it. The Army is the Army.
Yeah.
You know, but
got us to where we're at. You know?
Yeah, because we know those guys who need some help with that stuff, but sometimes they get policed up and sometimes they don't.
Yeah.
You know, so. Yeah, I guess that's the ultimate goal is to help people, and that's where I'm at now, man. It's how can I help? I guess mentor in a way. You know, I'm in a good spot. You know, I have a full-time job. I have Blue Scorpion protection where I do firearms training. Outside all the time is going to come on. I want to build that platform to where I'm doing small races and stuff and getting people out. I have a lot of things going on, so I feel like I have my purpose.
Right.
I have my purpose, you know. Hopefully we can get guys seeing that there's a place for them out here, you know.
Yeah, that's right, man. And you know, really the hope with your story and with, you know, all the other ones is that guys can find themselves within these stories and start building out that purpose.
Yeah.
You know, like we said, we're so used to the see one, do one, teach one methodology. I mean, that was a whole career, right? So it's real easy. But with this, that blank canvas, that, you know, the hope is to just plug these guys in, you know, fill these gaps and repurpose.
Yeah. At the same time, hopefully, and they want to do it, man. It's got to drop that tough guy shit sometimes.
Yeah.
Know how to ask for help, you know. But I think we'll be all right. Hopefully, you know, just trying to get guys to see it, man. Before it's, you know, like you said, before it's the end. They feel like it's the end of the world, and it's never. To me, you know, I've never been to that point to where I felt like I didn't need to be here. The one time I felt like thing was really, really bad, bunch of child support payments. Man, I'm volunteering for deployments.
Yeah.
I'm like, how stupid is that, right? I'm like, patriotism had nothing to do with it. I'm like, how can I get to a tax-free place and stack money?
Yeah.
You know, and that was probably the most stressful thing because I'm thinking, how do I get more money, but I don't have time to get a second job? I can't do it. You know, credit smashed. That's why, and this came middle of my career, right prior to going to be in special forces. So I think that helped me like navigate, it helps me from not getting so worked up about stuff because I went through that.
You got some resiliency from it. Yeah.
I mean, I jacked my credit up so bad that my wife tried to buy a house for us, and she couldn't do it because of my credit. Man, that was like one of the worst days of my life.
Yeah.
Watching her, we sitting in the car. What's them extended stay hotels at Bragg? On the Value Place or Value something.
Right.
We sitting out there. She's boo-hooing. She's like, I got denied. And I'm like, why? And you got great credit. And she just shook her head. And she didn't want to tell me. She didn't want to say. And then I looked at the little paper. It was because of me. And man, that was like one of the worst feelings. So that was like 2007 or something, 2000. And I was like, what? Man, what am I doing? So I started working to rebuild my credit. So every dime I made went to creditors, income tax, everything. So there's child support, but I'm getting ready. And at this time, I'm going into the course. So all I'm doing is training. That's all I'm doing is training, right? Not spending any money. It was so bad. One Christmas, all I could afford to get my wife for Christmas was a makeup compact. $7 at the PX. I'm sitting there like, I can't go borrow money because that's just going to make it worse. I'm in the Army, Sergeant First Class. Like, this is like, for me, I'm not gonna say I felt like I didn't need to be here, but I felt like my existence wasn't doing her any good.
Right,
If I could have disappeared, not to kill myself or suicide, I wasn't thinking that way, but I'm like, I'm absolutely no good to my family right now. You know, and I got past that, and I buckled down, and I was able to buy us a home in Colorado in 2011 on my stuff. So I was able to rebuild it. So I kind of went through that then.
Yeah.
So that's why if guys can know that, like, man, it's gonna be all right. You know, it's never as bad as we think it is. You know, but I had that moment, man. It was. Dude, I think about that now. It's like I couldn't. So when I did get everything straight, I remember, when I finally leveled off, like the second Christmas in Colorado, I gave her $1,000 in a bag, paper bag. Just like I put it under the Christmas tree. I just took a paper sack and put $1,000 in it, stapled it. Cause we're getting ready to go to Vegas for Christmas.
Right, nice.
Threw it under the tree. You know, because the year before that, I think I got her like a bathrobe. Bad. The kid, I think I sold a couple guns so I could get him his skateboards and stuff like that, and some DCs, the shoes and stuff like that. You know, but I'm glad to say I didn't have to do anything illegal. I didn't have to hurt nobody. You know, and everything was okay. But when I did get right, it was such a good feeling. I went and got a real Christmas tree.
Nice.
And people probably like I'm in the Army. Everybody thinks that everything is okay, you know, this and that. No, man, this shit can be rough sometimes.
Yeah, man, but you know, good point is it's like this too shall pass, right? You just got to walk it out.
Yeah.
I mean, sometimes it feels like the sky's falling and you're just not going to make it through, and you'll work it out.
Yeah. But the guys getting out is just it's coming at them so quick now. But if they get out ahead of it, just start working prior to getting out.
Yeah.
I think they'd be okay. It's just letting them know that there's programs for them and letting them know that there's places for them out here. I think some guys don't think there's anything for them. They think that because of what they've done, because of what they did in the Army, that there's nothing for them. Like, for instance, law enforcement. I work with law enforcement almost every week. A lot of agencies do combatives now. They go out and contract people to teach them combatives. I tell guys, hey, find an agency, talk to them.
Right.
You don't have to go. Most of them don't. They're not going to actually go be police. But you may have to get a couple certifications or whatnot. Go teach. I mean, I get some guys who are contract combative instructors, and they literally been doing it like maybe a handful of years. But I'm like, guys can go teach sock P.
Yeah, absolutely, man.
Right now as a part-time gig, and you'll run it by them, and they're like, oh, I don't want, because they have this. Only thing they know about law enforcement is what they see on TV.
Yeah.
I was the same way until I worked for them. I worked with them. The craziest shit I've seen is teaching us a executive protection class at Dobbins Air Force Base in Atlanta, north of Atlanta. So there's guys, there's federal agents, and this is something my cousin put together. He said there's a lot of guys that work with me. They want to moonlight. They want to move over into this realm. Will you come out and teach a class? So me and my buddy, we go out there, and along with my cousin, we set it up. First day, they're signing in, and this kid pulls up in a big-ass Ford Raptor. This is like 2020. Big, nice Raptor. He jumps out. He has on a pair of blue jeans, Timberland boots, with this sweater and a badge right here, a federal agent badge. What the hell? This is like New York Undercover or something. I'm like, he had some swag. He signed in, and he wrote down FDA. I'm like, what the hell? So after class, I asked him, I said, I saw you put down you work for the FDA. I'm like, yeah. I'm like, the FDA has special agents? I'm like, yep. I said, how did you get this job? I applied for it on USA Jobs. What were you doing before this? I was a firefighter in Arizona. Went back to school, got his degree, applied for it. No military experience, no prior law enforcement experience. He went to Flexi. Now he works for the FDA as a special agent, which I didn't know the FDA had police.
Wow. So,
and they starting off at like GS10, stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I'm like, there's plenty of places for guys to go and work in that wheelhouse, and they're already familiar. They're in shape. They know guns, so it'd be an easy push.
Easy transition, yeah.
But they won't even. Some guys, they won't even go near it.
Damn.
Yeah.
Well, the hope is we'll get the links out there, try to get the information out there, and they'll find a soft landing place, man. I mean, it's all we can do at this point.
Yeah.
Is just play team sergeant, and just try to help with the networking and help provide guys with possible solutions.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, man, I thank you so much for coming out here. I appreciate it. It was great sitting down and talking with you, man. And I think the guys and gals at home, they're going to get a lot out of this. I mean, some great advice in there, and we'll definitely put the links up. I want to get some videos in there as well of some of the training that you're talking about doing, if you don't mind.
Oh, absolutely. I'll send you some stuff. And the thing is like, people can reach out to me. I give all my point of contacts and stuff, and I'm an open book, man. As one of my good friends, Jermaine Flight, he's that's who I started doing the security with. He's, man, there's enough chips for everybody. There's plenty. I don't gatekeep. I'm not tab protected, none of that. If there's something you want to know, I will tell you, or I will point you in the right direction. You know. But I appreciate you letting me do it. Bumping my gums and rattling on and talking, because don't get to do this a lot, and express some thoughts and stuff and get stuff out there, because in the end, what you're doing, I think this is really important too. Giving guys a place, a platform for it, because as well as I know, a lot of guys, they're not going to just talk to anybody.
That's right.
So no, this is great.
Oh man, I appreciate it. It was an absolute pleasure, man. So we'll get you back here another time.
All right, man.
Yeah, anytime.